time for Sports Reports.
When it was good.
Well, the theme tune's always been good.
Well, live, I think.
So is that on the podcast? Does it mean
so.
Phil singing?
Because that's a good way
Well,
to
no,
start.
we'll edit that off because we'll have to.
Oh, you actually edit the podcast, do you? I didn't think you did. People ask me that every week.
Ever since that time where we said Richard Agar was going to be the next witness coach.
Yeah,
It turns out
we
it wasn't.
potentially
What
did get that
happened to
wrong.
I don't know.
He got the booby prize instead. Oh,
Ah.
Are we on? Are we?
Yeah, gets to sit
Hello,
next,
welcome
gets to
along.
sit next to Sir Kevin.
I hadn't had a notification, that's all. I'm a bit
It should
worried.
come up.
It'll come up, will it? Because we've had this before, Rich.
I know.
Where we've got all excited and we've carried on. Oh, we are now live. That's good. Hello, everybody. We are back after the Magic. I better turn the sound down. That's probably a good idea. We are back after the Magic weekend.
Some of us.
Some of us are back. Some of us are back. One of us is lost in action. We'll let you work out who that is. Welcome along. Magic weekend has been and gone. Was it a good one? We're going to have a debate about that maybe a little bit later on. We'll focus first of all on what happened on the fields. Wins for St Helens. Can anyone beat them at the minute? They were brilliant, weren't they, yesterday? The Dragons beat Wakefield. Huddersfield, a record win. And I think something that's been overlooked. 8 of their 17 homegrown players. So that was impressive from the Giants. What about Hull? We've mentioned them before. They chuck it in a little bit too often for me, and I think the fans are starting to get aware of that. Hull KR scraped through against Salford. Leeds, damn it, scraped through against London. And Warrington beat Wigan in what was probably a closer game than I thought it would be. Phil, you've just got back from Liverpool today. Have you had we'll discuss the ins and outs of it, but have you had a good weekend?
I think the one thing that came over, and I watched one day on the television to see how that looked and went live for the other to compare it. If you want a Rugby League festival, we've got one in the Magic Weekend concept, and we can talk about what works and what doesn't a bit later on. For me, the great success, which is to the credit of the sport, was the LDRL and PDRL element. I know that they're supposed to be the ancillary bits to the major action, but the social media that went out about it, the genuine joy on the faces of the people that participated in it, even the clips that Sky showed of it, I thought that was a success and showed the sport in the most
the guy, and forgive me, I don't know the young man's name, the Warrington kid.
Yeah.
Oliver.
It's gone viral.
That is,
and that's what we're
what
about.
we should be proud of that.
Absolutely.
As a sport, we should be delighted with that. And you know, that kid has played at Anfield for the Warrington Wolves. Unbelievable.
And I think the publicity that Adam Hills gives it by his celebrity endorsement, we'll talk about all the performances.
Although I noticed my Leeds teammates whooped his backside, didn't they, on Saturday?
Got one over on
Well done, boys. Well done, boys.
But that for me was the highlight. And anybody that hasn't picked it up yet, if you want to see extracts of it on social media, then it is well worth it. And as a sport, as we said, something we should be extremely proud of. And if for no other reason was it a success or not, yes, that was.
Yeah, totally agree. You were there Saturday, so you did half a shift each, didn't
Yes.
you? Wakefield were beaten.
Yeah, that
but
was a bit bad.
other than that, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was fine. Obviously, on Hull was interesting, wasn't it? It's. I didn't get the chance to wander around the outside as I used to do at Newcastle.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I sensed that on the way walking up. I'm sure there wasn't more in the fan zone at Newcastle than there was at Liverpool, but it's just basically people trying to get you to buy stuff and promote their various sponsorships. I don't know if there was any free mushy peas there, but didn't feel the same outside, did it?
No.
But that's the venue. We knew that going in.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go into that a little bit more detail. But you saw 3 games at the weekend. What did you make of them?
I don't want to take anything away from Huddersfield, but Hull are rubbish, aren't they? Hull are not as good as people think. And
I just don't know how are
well,
they going to sell that replica shirt?
Well, the question I have, right, and I've mentioned this before, you know, they conceded 80 against Warrington, 60 odd against Warrington.
50 against Saints.
Yeah. They have a habit of chucking it in. Now, how can they go to Warrington the week before and beat Warrington when clearly they have got a point to prove? And then this week, they've got a big cup game next week. I think Hull are becoming... You remember when Ian Millwood left all his team out at Bradford? Because he thought, they don't matter anyway. We're in, who cares? I think Hull are going like that. Not that you remember they got battered by Catalans the week before the cup, and lo and behold, everyone that was injured came back in and played. They're in the cup this weekend. They will beat
on
Catalans.
Thursday, so they have a really short turnaround.
They will beat Catalans.
The worry for me for Hull was that they didn't rest players. It wasn't an overt thing. A lot of the guys that played in that team against Huddersfield, and I think again all of this should be measured against the fact that we need to talk about how good Huddersfield
we'll get to that.
And the spine of their team and how that's grown this year and how so many of that spine are people that they've brought through, and they've allowed them to make mistakes, and now they've gone on to be top class players the way they played on that stage. And the one thing we also shouldn't forget is that after this particular round of Magic, Huddersfield have the best record of any team. They clearly enjoy the concept.
They do.
But I looked at that whole team on paper and thought, well, they haven't rested a lot of people, so I didn't see that result coming. A lot of the big guys were still out there.
Yeah, no, but I don't think that's the issue though, is it?
Well, I think the trouble then is you're playing with the emotions of your own fans, because they read the team sheet and they go, we're going to put it in today because the big guys are out there. And after 10 minutes you go, I'm really not sure what the game plan is, but they're going one up, they're not supporting each other in attack or defence. The triumvirate of Kelly and Sneyd and Connor clearly isn't working. I don't know how we've managed to fit all those three in and none of them are playing. And the worry for me isn't that, there were 12 kids in there and they gallantly tried their best but they're clearly not at that level. It was the fact that there were enough players out there to not lose by a score of 55-2. That looked really odd. Watching it on the telly.
Is that the point though, that they're a team for me that if they went to Warrington last week, they go, right lads, come on, this is it.
Yeah.
We spoke to Scott Taylor after the cup game. You could tell they were on it.
And
We've been
Lee
on it
Radford
all week. We've been on it.
We've been disrespected. So
and I think they're a team. I'm not saying they went out to lose a game. I'm certainly not saying that. But I wonder if they went a couple of scores down, they go, got a big game next week, lads.
And I'm not sure that comes from the coaching staff either, because you looked at what Lee Radford said afterwards, and he was the most perplexed of all.
I have been privy to some of his comments after the game in private, and I will tell you he's not a happy man.
No,
he's not happy
because they're training as if it means something, and they're going out and embarrassing him as much as anything else. Because he's the guy that's got to then front up and say, I didn't see that coming.
Well, it's weird, isn't it? Because social media, as we know, when you make predictions, you're there to be shot at. And last week, all the whole look at, we've beaten Warrington. Oh, you said we were going to struggle, blah, blah, blah. And I went, I said, clearly, on a going day, Hull can beat anyone. And they are, on that basis, they are a threat. I think they're picking and choosing. And that's not Lee Radford.
And that's really dangerous.
I think that's the players
But I also think is that partly to do with about 15 of them are off contract at the end of the year?
Well, the coach is out of contract,
tend to breed
the players
that
are out of contract.
We need to play in the big games because our value goes up, but I might have already be on the verge of signing for somebody else, or I need somebody to come in and look at me. I can't afford to be out injured for a season. I don't know.
It's an interesting one. That is a very good point. Rich, you watched it. What did you make of Hull as a team? And for all that Huddersfield, we will talk about Huddersfield in a minute. This is not a Hull were rubbish. The Giants didn't deserve to win. No, they did.
Giants
they played some great rugby.
Exception.
What did you make of Hull?
Well, it's not as if Huddersfield didn't allow them to play or anything, is it? It wasn't as if Hull had no possession. They just had no. It seemed go forward at all. It was just
there was going forward in ones, so that even if somebody had made post-contact meters or looked to get an offload, there was no point because there was absolutely no support play at all, which was bizarre. I still don't understand what is the best combination of Kelly, Connor, and Sneyd. Because to me, again, when you're watching it on the telly, you don't get the panoramic view you do when you're there. Connor is wasted in the centre.
Yeah. I watched him a couple of times when they scored. Because I went down and sat in the with the fans, and he was stood there, and the Huddersfield fans were hammering him They were absolutely hammering him, and you got a feeling just looking at him. You thought, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
I can't influence this.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I don't know. I mean, you look at the team, like you said. There's some good players.
I mean,
in
you need Jamie Shaw in there. If he was the one player that probably emerged with any credit, it might have been him. But when Kelly was at fullback and Connor was at standoff and Sneyd was at scrum half, that sort of worked. If you're going to play all three, or is Kelly going to come on as an auxiliary hooker, but he needs to start off the bench? It just didn't seem to work and they couldn't change it.
Yeah. Rich, Jamie Shaw got hammered. You interviewed him after
Well,
the game,
yeah,
and he got hammered, didn't he, on social media?
I didn't intentionally interview him. I went into the mix zone where we go after the game and players come out or not, and some of the home-based media asked for 3 or 4 players to speak to, which I thought, I know you've got things to talk about, but bloody hell, give them a break. Just being stuffed.
Yeah, but why should they have a break?
Well,
Put them under the microscope. The fans have paid really good money, and the one thing you can never criticise Hull fans for is they'll buy all the merchandise. They'll get behind, that one-off shirt.
Hello, what we're watching here?
Game of Thrones, apparently.
All right, okay.
Adverts paying our wages.
That one-off shirt is now commercially dead. Nobody's going to want to be seen wearing the shirt that they wore once and conceded 55 points in. But there were a hell of a lot of Hull fans that had bought it in advance of that game.
No, they are.
So they deserve 4 or 5 players being put up after that game and told.
Would you want to listen to them though as a fan?
Well, I just think that's the very least you deserve. The question that needs asking is, how can you go from being a Warrington team that have clearly been the second best in the competition for the entire season, who had whooped you the last twice you played, you put in an exceptional defensive performance to snuff them out, to barely making a tackle?
Yeah. He's broke something. What have you broke?
It's taking this microphone out. I can never get it to work on YouTube.
All right. Okay. Hello, everybody.
I assume we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here.
But that is a conundrum for me, because you say they'll win on Thursday against the Dragons. I'm not sure. I know we'll come to predictions later, but I just think the Dragons are in that remorseless form they were in about this time last year when their cup run started. They've stayed over, so they found a way to beat Wakefield, which again we've said on their travels they tend to be a different Dragons team, and Leon Price told us last week that no matter how good they are at home, there is an effect going away. It's not in their culture. Well, they found a way to beat Wakefield. They're staying over till Thursday. It's their cup. I think they'll go into that game thinking we've got a chance. And if Hull were to go out the cup this week, how do they pick up their league form? Because they're too inconsistent. You can't turn it on. You can't turn it on and off like a tap.
I think I said at some point at the end of last year, Sean Wayne would end up being the Hull coach.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I agree that's the destination, because I think he'd thrive on the Hull KR. Do you think, I mentioned this before, why has Radford not been given a new deal?
Get it. What I also don't understand is why Hull are quite rightly in the market for new players, bearing in mind that a lot of that squad that are playing at the moment are not on contract. They've already made their first signing in Josh Jones, which I think is a good signing. Who's making the decisions? Because if it's Lee Radford, just announce he's going to be the coach for next year.
Yeah,
if he's still under pressure or threat or isn't going to be there, then is the coach coming in, Sean Wayne, whoever, is he happy he signed Josh Jones?
Don't know. Rich, you were saying about Sean Wayne.
Well, I thought it just added up, didn't it? Because at that point we thought Leeds would be all right, but it didn't happen.
I think one of the things we do know about Sean Wayne, because you pick up little snippets of gossip when everybody's together. The other great thing about Magic Weekend is a lot of people who don't normally see each other meet and exchange tales, and some are in the game, some are are at the edge of the game, but get to hear stuff. I think what we can say is Sean Wayne is very keen for a return to rugby league.
Yeah, of course he is. He was very keen not to leave rugby league. Let's not kid
And
anyone.
although he's got great business interests and he's doing very well with his motivational speaking, and he's got a part-time job with Scotland, I think he has let it be known that he is ready and available to come back for the right job in rugby league.
Fair enough.
He wouldn't have spoken to the BBC and said what he said without having some kind of inkling of wanting to come back.
So Hull, to use the legend's phrase, pathetic. What about Huddersfield? Darnell McIntosh got the points in the Albert Goldthorpe.
Yeah, well, I'd never spoken to him before until after the game. He speaks well. He's an eloquent young man.
Yeah.
So he's getting another one of these players who we probably as a sport should be doing more with, but we don't really know what we're doing with people and want to promote the wrong people for the wrong reasons. But there you go. Jermaine McGilvery has got a couple of tries. Sports Liverpool, front of the cop.
Happy days.
Easy ways in. They were just very good, weren't they?
There was one passage of play where McIntosh passed it to Ollie Russell. Russell passed it to Innes Senior. Senior went down the line and threw it back in, and Jake
held
Wardle
up the
scored
ball with two defenders around him and
you
dropped
think,
it.
Wow, we know Andy Kelly really well. I've done a bit. We've been lucky enough to go out to the Giants Academy. They are developing really good people there, as well as really good rugby league players.
And I think Simon Wolford deserves credit as well, is the fact that he's allowed the kids to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think again there is a patience when they're your own, but you can see improvement in him. I think McIntosh is playing in a couple of games this year where he's taken the wrong option with the ball. But he hasn't been hauled over the coals or dropped.
Well, he had a poor game against Wales. You'd argue. I think he'd admit himself. His mistake probably cost him a game at the end. But Wolford said, look, he's a young player, but...
he's in a difficult position at full-back. He's going to get exposed.
Yeah, but we do expect him to be better than that. But he stays in the team.
Yes, and it's the same with, I think, the senior brothers, that when they first came into the team, they looked a little frail physically, but because they've kept with them, I think, again, that bit of skill, example, Jake Ward's another, but I think Ollie Russell is another who again, really has had to, he had to fight for every minute of game time that he's got. I'm not sure that they thought he was going to make it when they bought Matt Frawley over from Canterbury. He obviously dropped down the pecking order a little bit. Lee Gaskill, again, when he emerged on the scene at St Helens, looked like an absolute star. This is almost last chance saloon for him at a big club.
Well, look,
but I think that core of the team, McIntosh, Gaskill, Russell, and I'd say the two hookers.
Yeah, O'Brien and Leeming.
Because again, I think Leeming is now the player he is because he's got competition from O'Brien, to the point where O'Brien's getting the start.
And they're completely different, though, aren't they?
They're really complementary. It's back to the days of when you used to have Terry Newton and Lee Jackson.
Yeah.
And Jackson had come on for, after Newton had beaten up his opposite number, Jackson had come on and run round him.
Yeah.
And it really works. But those five in particular, and the fact that they've stuck with them and believed in them and given them the opportunities, that was the manifestation of what they could be. And I think that it's really interesting looking at Huddersfield and Wigan at the moment, because they both went into this weekend and the season was going to go one way or the other. You're either going to be on the fringe of the top five and you've got something to play for in every game now. And Huddersfield now need to back that up. That is a mark of performance for them.
They do.
Whereas I think Wigan had the same opportunity against different opponents, obviously a more difficult task in Warrington. But having lost that, and we'll talk about Wigan and maybe what they did and didn't do, I think there's now 4 teams possibly in a relegation battle, and they're the 4th.
Okay, we'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail. We're just looking at the Giants: Darnell McIntosh, Jermaine McGilvray, Jake Wardle, Innes Senior, Ollie Russell, Matty English, Cruz Leeming,
Alex Mellor's playing really well at the moment.
and Michael Lawrence, all homegrown. 8 of that
and
17.
Could Joe to come back in.
Could Joe to come back in. They had the other 2 in the 19-man squad, both Huddersfield youngsters. So I think fair play to Huddersfield, because I think in years gone by we'd probably criticise them for not developing enough talent. Now all
or
of a sudden,
going out and spending too much money on players that were taking up a spot that was
and
denying
interesting, and I've been certainly critical if the rumours are to be believed. Then Assos is generally pretty good. The value of Lee Gaskill's they've paid a lot of money for Lee Gaskill. But I noticed even the legend at the weekend said maybe Leeds should sign a Lee Gaskill. Well,
anybody who plays well.
That might be the kiss of death. But I have to say, when he plays, they look a lot better side.
I think he looks comfortable in that environment. What is interesting is their 2 big signings over the last close season were Uarte and Frawley, and neither have played in that team. Now I know Uarte's having a knee clean out, so
I just question though, and I've questioned
do they now say, look,
a lot.
Let's go down the route of players who we think we can develop and breed ourselves, and not go down the road of necessarily signing a big name from Australia.
I've questioned their recruitment a lot. Right? Did they need a killer Uarte? I don't think they did. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. He's not come here for free, Rich. He's going to be on a decent screw, isn't he?
Absolutely.
I think he's a player. You've just mentioned it there. Did they look out? I just think it's one maybe. You put another big forward or a good back row forward in there, an overseas player, I think they're even better.
And I think Joe Wardle's been a really good signing for them, because he looks and feels like he's back at home. Yeah. And if a player is happy in the place that they're playing, they'll produce the kind of goods that they can. I thought, again, that was almost back to the form when they sold him in the first place to Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, exactly. What do you make of Huddersfield, Rich?
Very good defensively, weren't they? They only conceded a penalty just before half time because they did something naughty. I can't remember what it was now. But to not concede a try, that's some effort. And as you know, when you're 50 odd points up, that's going to be the main thing in your mind at that point, just to keep them without scoring a try. They were very good. The problem with Super League is, and I'm sure we'll talk about this as we go through the games, going from Huddersfield up, maybe put Wigan in there, I don't know. No, leave him out for the moment. Huddersfield up to Catalans, everyone's inconsistent. There's no consistent teams.
Which is what we want.
Yeah.
Because we do want uncertainty of outcome. But you don't want your team to go from being stunningly brilliant one week defensively to barely making a tackle the next week.
Yeah. Also, they've got a nice week off this week. Although they're having a post-training session with Featherstone.
All right, okay.
So that will keep them busy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so
No, I thought it was impressive. Record win, of course.
I think the other person who deserves a lot of credit is Luke Robinson.
All right.
Because I think he's changed a little bit the style with which they're playing as well.
Okay.
And that they've had a couple of head coaches who've been Australian who wanted to play a really regimented type of rugby. I think Robinson now is impressing, particularly upon the young players, that they do have an opportunity to express themselves as well. And if they can get that balance right, there will be a threat for the rest of the season because they've got absolutely nothing to lose in every single game that they go in. They could make the top 5.
They could do.
On the basis of what we saw this week, if they can repeat that 80 minutes more often than they don't, they will trouble some teams that are above them.
They will. I mean, they beat Hull KR the other week. They lost narrowly to St Helens. They lost by a point, was it, to Wakefield? So they've been in decent form. They've just got to keep it going, pick up the victories. I was really impressed. I like Wolford. I said that before. We've heard him a lot on the Forty20 on the videos. He's an honest guy. When his team aren't good enough, he'll tell you. So I'm quite pleased for him. They got a win on the big stage.
I think he and Danny Ward have a characteristic in common. And no doubt we'll talk about London soon. But I thought the honesty with which Danny Ward's press conference approached a game where he could have been absolutely heartbroken by his team just losing out was fantastic.
Can I say he wasn't honest? He lied. He lied. Danny Ward, you're a liar. That pass was a mile forward.
What he said...
It was a mile forward. I was right in line with it.
But Wolford's the same. The point I was going to make is I like both of them. It wasn't anyway. But I like both of them because even when they've won and they've not been convincing, he's been honest. When they've lost and they haven't played well, he's been honest. And I think there was an immense amount of pride in the press conference he did after this victory, because that was the manifestation of a lot of things they've been working on. And there are some days when things just work for you. Every pass sticks and the belief flows through your team and you don't make mistakes and you don't give away penalties. And as a coach, you just think, that's what I've been trying to tell the guys all through pre-season. That's what we work for in every training session, and they've done it.
His team are a reflection of him. They're an honest team. They're an honest team.
And he was an honest player.
If only Jordan Abdul had kicked the ball once on Sunday, London would have won that game. And this is not my anti-Leeds. Leeds were great for 10, 15 minutes. You think, wow, they're going to run away.
The first 20 minutes they started with a real intensity.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we're doing Leeds at the moment.
No, we'll go to London now. We'll talk London and Leeds.
They started well, and the saving grace for Leeds was the last 5 minutes, because we've seen that scenario so many times this season, not least against London at Headingley, where they've let that kind of game go. They managed to find some game management. I mean, I think Scoey's not here this week because Richie Myler was their best player, and particularly the kick at the end where he found touch right in the corner and wound the clock down.
It was a Dwyer kick that won it, I thought, when he pinned him in goal.
But even getting a back-to-back set is the kind of thing that they haven't done.
I agree.
So the performance, Richard Agar said, the good bits and the bad bits, there's too much distance between them. But they sought a way of killing a game.
Yeah, they won. Fair play, they won the game.
And I think that's where Danny Ward's honesty was absolutely right. Because when, did you feel aggrieved at the end? No, I don't think our team deserved to win it.
Fair enough. Rich, what do you make of Leeds? Not in crisis this week.
No, in crisis this week. I know. Well, for the first 10 minutes I thought, I was going to send a tweet and I didn't in the end, saying, how the hell did Wakefield lose to this one last week? They're rubbish. But then they woke up, didn't they? If Leeds can play for more than 10 minutes, they'd be alright, wouldn't they? But
it's there, isn't it? It's there.
What there was as well, and this isn't a Leeds loving because they've got.
Oh, don't worry. Well, you're outnumbered this week.
Some of the criticism for much of this season, absolutely justified, has been a lack of leadership. There were 2 or 3 senior players that stood up on Sunday. I thought Trent Merrin set a fantastic lead.
He's playing well.
Can't do a lot more than what he's doing at the moment.
He's playing well, mate. He had a good game.
He's not yet an 80-minute player, but he's a bit like...
When he's on the field, Leeds are a better team.
Yeah, he's a bit like Sean O'Loughlin, that when he's out there...
Yeah.
The first 20 minutes, the ferocity with which he ran the ball in,
Yeah.
was excellent.
I've got to be honest, I like him, but he puts the shift in. Again, we use that word honest. I think there's a bit of honesty about him.
Yeah.
I know he's had a few problems, but I think he's all right.
And I thought Myler stood up this week.
Yeah.
But the other encouraging sign in what has been a poor season is that some of the kids are starting now to make a real impact. Harry Newman's getting better every week. Try he scored was very important.
I thought that was a match winner, but he looks a threat on that left-hand side. I think you're getting to the point, whisper it quietly, where when they're all fit, I think he stays in the second row. Stays in the team now, definitely. He's earned his spot.
Jack Walker made a difference until he limped off at the end, and again they look vulnerable when he still things he needs to learn. But
look, as an attacking,
the pace he's got at the back.
I know he scored a try, and he should have had one in the first couple of minutes, shouldn't he, Jack Walker? I think that will come with experience.
Yeah.
You look how good Luke Dawn was when he was 30 odd. Yeah. That's 15 years in the making to get that good.
And we said
defensively,
it about
the tackle he made on the other Walker, that saved the try. And at that point, had they scored, then Leeds would have been in a spot of bother. So I like again, Jack Walker.
No players over 30.
Out of contract end of the season, isn't he?
No, it was a long term one when he signed. I think it was 3 years when he signed, so he's got at least another year left. He's not on the list. But I think again, Alex Sutcliffe, nice cameo to set up the try.
Yeah,
lovely
apart
pass,
from his forward pass.
Lovely pass that was
great run, son, but that were a mile forward.
Average age of the team 24. If you're going to rebuild a team, that's the way to do it.
Look, Rich, as much as we joke about Leeds and cry, it is only a joke. I've had to defend myself to people this week who are getting excited about that. But they've won, and it's easier when you win. Like you said, you can look at the positives rather than necessarily the weaknesses.
Darren's a fan of Brad Dwyer, by the way. Matt Parcell, we won't see him for a couple of weeks. What was he doing with the referees?
What has he touched one?
Twice.
All right.
He's got 2 Grade B contact with match officials, so he's got 2 games.
Oh, that's interesting.
1 on each. Well, Leeds get a nice week off this week, don't they? Because they lost to Bradford.
The other thing is Samana Fanai looked like what they've had missing for a lot of the season as well. A big guy who could take some steam out of the opposition pack.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I
think London were fantastic.
They were and they weren't.
No, I think they were because, again, they kept themselves in a game and late on could have won that game.
Why did Abdul just keep kicking the ball? Why?
Well, and the other thing is, twice he kicked out on the full.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
He kicked out. His kicking game was awful.
You cannot do that.
And yet, whenever he runs the ball, he looks like he's going to score every time. I think they'll review his game, and the ball in hand bit was brilliant. The other bit was...
And Alex Walker is one of the most talented young players in the sport at the moment. Now, he is out of contract at the end of the season.
He's not going to be at London, is my understanding.
But you can see why a lot of teams will be interested.
He's a class act. I said in commentary yesterday, I think probably 2 of the best fullbacks in the competition.
I thought
we were watching yesterday in that game.
He is, and every time he touched the ball, he was
a real threat.
Well, Jimmy says, ever the optimists get real, they're still rubbish. They are still rubbish.
Who's that, Leeds?
We didn't say they weren't.
No one said they're not.
Richard
They're still in a scrap at the bottom.
They're
still in a scrap at the bottom.
Richard Agar was keen to point out that result doesn't change anything.
I was asked
Kev's assistant
by one of our media colleagues what the reaction would be if Leeds got relegated. Leeds will not get relegated because the competition won't allow them to get relegated. But both them and Hull KR had much needed wins yesterday.
Well, I think the other thing about the Leeds win, by virtue of the fact that yes, they are still rubbish, is the fact that having seen Hull KR win.
Well, they would have been bottom.
They would have been bottom and bottom by 2 points. So again, the result is more important than the performance.
What about London then, Rich?
Well,
we all thought, no chance. They're not even going to get anywhere. They're not even going to win a game, let alone win 4. They've lost to Leeds by 2. They lost to Huddersfield by 1. They need to keep another win, but
there's a gap now. That's the concern. There is a gap. It may only be 2 points, but they still have to win on a week where Hull KR and Leeds don't. And I know that's probably likely because not everyone's going to win every week.
Teams of football on goal difference, they need 3 points, don't they, to get off the bottom.
A bit of bother, but they've gone way above where we thought they'd be in the first place, haven't they?
They're more competitive, even with the greatest respect to look at the squad that they're putting out every week than we thought they would be.
Yeah.
They made a conscious decision, which has been absolutely justified, to stick with the bulk of the players that got them promoted.
Yeah.
And normally, in any sport, that would leave you as the lowest ranked team and unlikely to win a game. And they've shown with Great organisation with spirit, desire, keeping as many of their frontline guys fit as they can. That those players deserve the opportunity to play in Super League. But whether it's enough to keep them in Super League, that's another matter.
It is. Well, there were odds-on favourites to go down anyway. What's happening on social media? I can't see your screen.
No,
so
it's okay. Not a lot. Alison says one about Donaldson. He had a solid game. Broke the line 3 times.
Yeah, I like him as a player. I liked him when he was at Bradford. I think he's, we're using the word honest a lot tonight, but he's you get what you pay for.
If you need effort, he's one of the
he'll do it. Yeah, every team needs those. Guys that met the tackles, met the runs. Impressive.
Yeah, Noel's concerned because I think he's a Wakefield fan, and of course, next up for Leeds is Wakefield in the Super League.
Yeah,
bashed up Wakefield.
Leeds with a week off. It'd be an interesting test for both teams.
With no legs and everything.
Well,
he's out, isn't he, for that game?
Apparently,
but not for.
Knowing Dave, he'll be fit now.
You know what 19-man squads are like?
Elastic.
Yes. One of the big games yesterday was the game prior to it was the opener, wasn't it? Salford 20, Hull KR 22. And I wasn't here last week, so did you all tip Salford to win?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay.
We
might as well have known.
We put in the rider that obviously they had a fantastic win in the cup at Salford, which we also hadn't predicted.
I think you find I did predict that.
We didn't think that lightning could strike twice, and of course it did.
When I was watching the game yesterday, I just thought, I don't know what the phrase is that I want to use, but it'd just be like Hull KR to lose that game, like they did the
Put themselves in a position where they couldn't possibly lose.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot, shoot yourself in both feet, just to make doubly sure that you do. But they held on. They held on right at the end. They kicked the goal to win it.
Interestingly, Salford scored more tries but lost.
Well,
which shows how important Ryan Shaw's contribution was.
Yeah, but they're letting him go, aren't they, Shaw? I can't believe that. I like Ryan Shaw.
Strange goings on at Hull KR at the moment.
Well, let's talk about that. John Bastian is going to Hull KR from Bradford. Magnificent at what he does, youth development. That is a real positive step. Of course, the Hull Academy, City of Hull Academy, is disbanding, so they need to get their own going, and that I think is a positive step. Danny Maguire being appointed as head of recruitment, is that right?
That's the title.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, Rich. We've had various examples thus far. Now, we won't talk to Phil about Kevin Sinfield, but we can. Kevin Sinfield, jury out, Jamie Peacock.
Well, that's my favourite one because, of course, we can't slag off people like Jamie Peacock, but he can slag off John Wells on the telly. Despite the fact John Wells is very good at his job. Good news for Hull KR. Although they play Warrington this week in the Cup and may lose, Joel Tompkins out for a match, but at least he's out for that match rather than winning the competition, which matters more, one would say. You can't just give people jobs, and this is no comment on Danny Maguire or anyone. Just because they used to be a player or are a player, that doesn't necessarily mean
it's a risk, isn't it? It's a risk. I'm not so sure about that one, but
he's a player. He's focused at the moment. He's playing. How can he know who's out there to recruit or not?
Well, he could get some advice from someone who's a player agent, maybe. The interesting thing is that Hull KR clearly are reshaping their squad mid-season, which I think, again, hints at that they're going to make some purchases in the not too distant future. Now that's going to have an impact on next year. So is the head of recruitment for next year involved in these purchases now? Again, there's an issue about who is going to coach them next year. I don't think it's by any means certain that Tim Sheens will be staying. In fact, it could be quite the reverse, that they could already know that he isn't going to be staying, but he's certainly out of contract at the end of the year. So again, in terms of recruitment, the decisions that are being made now and for next year, who's making that decision?
Well, if you put a jigsaw together and all these pieces fit, don't they? But there's like all the corners. Danny Maguire's in one corner, John Bastian's in another corner, the coach is in another corner. That's apparently going to be James Ford, according to John Davidson in the paper today in League Weekly. So I don't know what jigsaw piece links all those people.
Is there a common denominator?
I don't know. It's just interesting. But that's it. I don't want to say it's a risk, but it is a risk because James Ford's obviously a very good coach, but he's never coached in Super League before.
I think the other thing as well is, I don't think it came as any surprise that Nick Scruton and Lee Jewett were released. And I do hope Lee Jewett is getting the medical backup that he needs, because I think there is a big story to be told at some point about successive concussions and the effect that has on you. And we've seen Shontaine Harpy's mentioned it. And
we need to bring back the Biff and shoulder charges.
Well, I think we need to look after people like Lee Jewett first.
I think the problem is people on the telly who say things like that.
But they've also allowed Junior Vai and Will Oakes to go to York on loan, who were in the starting 17 the week before.
Yeah.
Thomas Minns, we know, is coming back, which is another great story of redemption. And I think we spoke about the apparent change in him over the period that he's been banned. You mentioned it, actually going out and getting a job in the real world, and anybody that he wants to tell a story of rehabilitation, he looks like he has.
No, I think he's gone away and learnt his lesson. I'm going to be honest, and I tweeted Thomas when he said he was coming back. I'm not a fan of drugs. I think he should have got 2 years. There's no, I won't say it's a fine line, probably the wrong phrase to use, but you either do it or you don't do it. There's no in between. But he's gone away, and I think this was a point that was made maybe about Zach Hardacre. Did he go away and really learn the value of what are you going to do if you're not a rugby league player?
Yeah.
And I don't think he did. And I think this boy Thomas has done that. I would be amazed if he, I use the term reoffends, he is an offender if you like in that respect. I would be amazed. I think he's learnt his lesson. I wish him all the best when he comes back.
I think it's really difficult for a player who hasn't played for 16 months, no matter how good they are, no matter how much training they're doing on their own, to be a match-fit contributor in the immediate short term. So I think the fact that Hull KR are moving some of their outside backs into loan situation, bringing in somebody who hasn't played a lot of rugby, there's a risk strategy in that.
Okay.
But it seems to me that the change is very much in the air at the Robins, and it's. I thought that performance reflected incredibly well on them, because with all this change going on, and with all the likelihood of it possibly being a completely new regime next year, I thought they showed tremendous resolve against Salford. Salford are a huge enigma at the moment.
They are.
In some ways, Jackson Hastings' performance, who clearly is their talisman figure, summed them up even on Sunday, because when he was good, he was almost unplayable, and Hull KR could not handle him. But there were too many periods in the game that he wasn't involved.
Yeah.
And again, it's like the combination between him and Rob Louis doesn't happen enough. It's either one of them that's really good or the other that's really good. When they're both really good, Salford are brilliant.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen enough against Rovers, I didn't think. I don't know whether that's heaping too much pressure on Jackson Hastings. And clearly he's another one whose future is being talked about openly at the moment. He hasn't yet said anything other than exactly the right thing, that he's there to do a job for Salford, who are clearly paying him until the end of this season. I think, again, the things you pick up at Magic Weekend is the general feeling is he will not be a Salford player next year. We don't know where he's going to be playing. There are several clubs interested in him.
Yeah.
But the word on the street is he's not going to be playing for the Red Devils. No.
Well, I would imagine there's probably more than him won't be playing for the Red Devils next year. But big win for Rovers. It keeps them fighting at the bottom. I know there are concerns. Obviously, they have been relegated in the past. Rich, do you think they've got enough to stay in?
Yes, because I think London might be cut adrift now, even though they are only 2 points behind. Salford, a bit like Wakefield on the Saturday, left themselves too much to do, which is bizarre because much like Wakefield, they got themselves level. In fact, Wakefield took the lead, didn't they? But didn't quite have enough to go on and win. Salford, Wakefield, all these teams in the middle who just can't, at the moment anyway, remain consistent.
Stupid question. Would it benefit Hull KR to go out of the Cup this week?
I think they will do anyway.
No, I don't think it will. I think you're this close now, you want to win.
Because their rivals are getting weeks off.
Yeah,
does that make a big difference, or would you
I
rather
think,
still be in the Cup?
Look, let's be fair. Financially, they've lost one of their two money men, so they need money. I'm pretty sure if you ask the chairman, does he want to win? He wants to win.
I'm not saying they don't want to win. Would it benefit them?
For me, no. I'm going to get him 1 week off, potentially 2. I think you'd do them more good to beat Warrington.
And somebody is going to get a championship team in the semi-final.
Yeah, exactly. So you could be
which is not to say that they'll beat them, but they would be favourites.
Let's be fair. If you asked all the other 3 teams in the draw who you want, they're all picking that one. If this was club call, I think someone might go, "Yeah, we'll have them. Woo, we'll have them." Yeah, and then John Keir or Mr. Grix will go cause an upset. That might happen. It's the Cup. anything can happen. Right, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube commenting on St Helens.
Yeah.
Who were
Well, Rob will say
brilliant.
We might as well talk about anyone else because no one can match them at the minute. He says.
Well, no one
Darren
could match
says-
them at this stage
Darren
last year.
said, they said that last year.
Yeah.
And they said that if Castleford the year before and Warrington the year before that.
Yeah, so there you go. The best team doesn't win Super League. I said to Paul Cook yesterday, off the record, I'm putting it on the record now, I said it last year at this point, and it's going, oh, you don't know what you're about. I said last year St Helens won't win Super League, and I don't think they'll win this year.
I think it's a different St Helens.
I agree, but it's a very injury-free St Helens.
Yeah, but I think that should they get injuries, the quality they've got and the players that they've already played, there is that different squad rotation that they didn't have last year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think there is genuine competition for
They're
players.
a great team.
And they could handle 2 or 3 injuries
Quite
because
possibly
of
they
the quality
could.
of the guys
Quite
that they've got
possibly
to
they
come in. I thought the way they started against Cass was just mesmerising. And it didn't matter who they were playing. I think that's where, if you don't support either of those teams, you just sit back and go, I can't be anything other than just in awe of what
Well,
they're doing.
I said yesterday, if you're not enjoying this St Helens, don't stop watching the game because they were magnificent. They defend their line. So, I mean, to be fair, Cass, they threw quite a bit at them early on as well.
I just thought that the cutting edge of every single one of the St Helens backs was just a joy to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're a great team to watch.
And, you know, normally you identify someone on the opposition, you say, look, if we can hold him today, we've got half a chance of beating this team. But where do you stop St Helens? You've got to do it on the back of what Alex Walmsley does and what James Roby does. I get all of that. But when you've got guys like Tommy Makinson in the form that he was in, the run that Kevin Aguama made for his try, I can't, you know, Theo Farge and
He's
Johnny
playing well at the minute, isn't he? He is playing well.
And Lachlan Coote, who's given them that extra dimension at the back.
Yeah.
I don't know how you stop them at the moment, because if you think you've closed them down in one edge, they'll kill you on the other.
But we mention recruitment all the time. They have recruited magnificently well.
Fantastic.
Haven't they? They have
really
done
have.
so well.
But I think they balanced that with, again, giving some younger players a chance to shine. And how good was Jack Ashworth when he came on?
Yeah. Well,
when we weren't talking about him this season as having an impact.
But is it not always the case when your team's playing well?
Yeah.
If you get a chance, you've got to play well to get anywhere near the team.
Well, how good's
They're
Alan
playing
Smith playing at the moment?
Yeah.
They need a successor for James Roby. They've given him the contracts. They're now giving him the game time. He's responded.
Yeah, he's looking the part, isn't it? Look, they're a good team. I'm not. So I've just got. It's a sceptic in me that said the best team doesn't win Super League, and it's almost annoying now.
Yeah, they've got a couple of players still out to come back in as well. I think they managed injuries really. Kyle Amor and Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook were injured for probably a couple more for this.
But as you said though, those young lads are doing that well. It doesn't matter.
No, it's going to add to the mix though.
Yeah.
It's not going to detract from it.
No, it's not.
I think they've learnt from last year. That's why they're dangerous.
I've been wounded too many times. The best team, they are the best team now, but they don't have to be the best team now. They've got to be the best team in 4 or 5 months' time.
I think it's the manner in which they're playing.
Yeah, but they did it last year, Phil.
No, I think they're different. They're more ruthless this year.
Yeah,
their
I
defence
said
is
yesterday,
better.
you run out of things to say about them when you're on the radio. They're that good. And they were that good. They were brilliant.
I also think that when you look at teams like Manchester City and Liverpool, everybody was waiting for them to fail this year. And the longer the season went on,
better.
Better. And I can see a bit of that in St Helens. That there's almost there's not a hint of arrogance about them. It's just a confidence.
You know what I enjoyed as well? I enjoy watching the coach clap when they score great tries, rather than sitting there going...
Yeah, and you can see that it's a training ground
move. It was like,
great.
We're all clapping as well. Good, celebrate.
I just get the feeling that the one ingredient that was missing is the failure last year, and that is driving them on.
They lost. They had 2 big games last year, and they lost them both.
But they didn't make a final.
That's what I mean. They lost them both.
Whereas I think there's still a vulnerability about Warrington at the moment in a big game and put under pressure.
Maybe. Well, Wigan, to be fair.
But I can't see it in St Helens. I can't see any chink in their arm at the moment.
Well,
we'll see.
They're going to win Super League because Matt Shaw's done some number crunching. And under Justin Holbrook, he writes in the League Express today, they are well on their way to capturing the status of being one of the great sides. 69 games into his tenure, St Helens have a win rate of 80%, a higher percentage that Leeds treble winning season of 2015. So they get your documentary cameras out now, people. Saints as good as it gets.
But still on his record of games that he lost, the two very important ones last year. I think Holbrook has learnt what he didn't do last year enough, and that was his team were burnt out by the end of last season. Because I think he bought the Australian way of saying, I don't really appreciate how long this season is, but every week I'm going to put out my best team. And I think we looked at some...
that might be the biggest difference, you know, it come the end of the season. And they've recruited well, they play brilliant. I'm not saying
Paolo is a great recruit for them. They've almost, without people knowing, of noticing, have shipped Douglas to Lee and brought Paolo in. I think, again, they've got an extra dimension with that. Their recruitment this year has been really, really good. Peru is playing as well as we've seen him play. But he has to keep his place in the team.
We talk all the time about coaches. He has taken Kieran Cunningham's misfiring squad and made them world beaters, and then what he's done is added some great play. We forget they were a Luke Gale drop goal away from the grand final that year, and he's added quality. They did it last year. Fair play to Eamon McManus as well. Those signings have not come cheap.
No,
he's put his money in. We don't hear a lot from McManus.
Ben Barber was a marquee signing, which again, they all put their hands up and went, it was the right thing to do at the time, and it set a precedent. But it bit us on the bum.
I just think they've gone about their recruitment really well. I like Holbrook. I hope he gets a new deal sorted out, because they've got to be looking, in the NRL and go, we'll have him. That's the worry for them.
The sport here needs people like him, because not only is he a very good coach, but he's a great ambassador for the sport.
He's a great, talker, isn't he? He's good. Saints are good as well.
And whether you support them or not, if you can't admire what they're doing at the moment,
enjoy watching. What about Castleford, Rich? You don't like Castleford. We all know that.
But they weren't very good.
Hold on, we all know we don't. No, you do. We don't. Although Phil might actually.
I was glad Tommy Mason scored, because I tipped him to be top try scorer at the start of the year, and it's not really gone well there.
I've still never forgiven him for not scoring against Salford.
No. Yeah, but Cass have got all the players injured, haven't they? All their players.
They have still injured. Got a few. I must admit, I saw the team yesterday and thought, the excuses are running out here. But they have still got quite a few key players not playing.
As Rommel's pointed out, Saints had a few players out. Percival, McCarthy, Scarsbrook, Thompson, Amo, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they did. The facts are, though, and we said this a few times 2 years ago,
inconsistent teams.
When Castleford were good, if they were good 2 years ago, no one was beating them. It's the same with St Helens, isn't it?
There's only one good team in Castleford these days anyway, we know that. We'll talk about them later.
The record-breaking ladies?
Yeah. I don't know where to go with Cass. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean,
they're still in the top 5.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you're in that hunt at the moment, you've got a chance of staying in there. They've still got a positive points difference, so they must be doing something right, because the two teams above them haven't. That's the thing. I say unlike Hull, but we saw them at Hull the other week and they were dreadful, weren't they? In the league, unlike Hull, they aren't chipping 50 points.
Have they lost 9 of their last 13, Cass? I think they have. I think I saw that stat somewhere. They've lost 9 of their last 13 games.
I think what Cass are hoping now is that when their injured players of influence start to come back, they're still in the top 5.
Well,
because they're the team you wouldn't want to play the playoffs if everybody's fit.
So if we say now,
on in there,
Saints and Warrington, you're in, lads. Home semi-final.
Yeah.
The other 3 or other 8 or however many are going for those 3 spots are going. Right, if we can get ready.
So we don't need to win every week. It'd be nice if we could win every
Bradford
week.
win it, Leeds win it from outside the top few. It has happened, it will happen again.
And I think
this might be the year it happens.
Joy of the top 5, because I think, again, that does add added interest. I think the fact that the top team gets a second chance is absolutely right, but a team from 5th that have all their players on board and times their run, they're going to have to go away and do it. We shouldn't underestimate how hard that is. But you wouldn't rule out, say, Cass going to St Helens or Warrington on a one-off 80 minutes with everybody fit and winning.
Yeah,
I've been told off for knocking Cass. I wanted to win the grand final that year. We all wanted to beat Leeds. We're all gutted when they didn't turn up. Come on.
Who's giving you some ammo?
Maureen.
Maureen, keep getting stuck in.
Ollie Holmes still speaks to me. That was a positive.
Does he?
I do think they need to start winning some games though, because whilst Darryl is, we're anybody who disputes that we're massive fans of Darryl Powell doesn't listen to the programme, obviously. But Darryl is saying exactly the same thing after every game at the moment, and that's got to change. Yes, you've got players out, and yes, they can't fault the effort. Almost they're given now. I think you've still... And at the start of the second half, I thought they were very good because they could actually have lost by 50 or 60 the way St Helens were playing in the opening 40 minutes. And they showed some real resolve and resilience. But again, the way the game ended, there were two distinct teams on the field.
Yeah, there was. And I think the late tries for Cass maybe covered up just how well they got beaten yesterday. Fair play to St Helens' performance. Them and Huddersfield, probably the performance of the weekend. What about Warrington then? Second in the table, Rich. They ended up beating Wigan. Courtesy of a bit of Blake Austin magic, maybe?
Well, the accusation was, I think, on this programme that he hasn't maybe turned up to all the big games so far. Turned up to the party on Saturday. He's magic. He's going to win Man of Steel or whatever. The boats will be out later, won't they? They're there. They're in the right position, aren't they? They're not top of the table. They don't have that pressure of leading the way and then falling apart. It is their year, but it's always their year. It was the Wigan fans were tying them on Saturday nights. Adrian Lamb said Wigan were the best team for most of the game.
Yeah, what did we make of that?
Well, I think we can come on to Wigan in a minute, and that I think is might come back and hurt him a little bit.
I think, as you said with Hull earlier, where some of the fans started going, hang on.
Yeah.
I know a couple of Wigan fans who went, hang on. No, that's not the game I watched.
And the game didn't turn on one incident.
No.
Whatever the rights and wrongs of that incident, it wasn't that one incident that turned the game.
Yeah. Was there a bit of inconsistency? I mean, he was complaining about the crush tackle. We saw Roby get sin bin yesterday for an accident. It was an accident. Yeah. Clearly, he was on Truman that quick that Truman folded up underneath him. It was you always wonder what was he supposed to do, but he was not happy that Tautai went off the field and a Warrington player didn't.
I think, and also we're seeing teams being penalised in possession. Moving off the mark, and again that seems inconsistent at the moment because you can see it 13 times in a game. And
why didn't James Child give another one right at the end of that Leeds game that would have allowed London to kick the goal?
Again, I'm not having a go at any individual referee, but yes, there is inconsistency.
I said that tongue in cheek, by the
way. The thing I think about Warrington at the moment is, and he's not here, so we can discuss it. I just think Blake Austin is exactly what Great Britain need at the moment. When you look at the half-back options, obviously we know Luke Gale isn't available. I'm not sure George Williams' place is in any way secure at the moment.
I thought he played a bit better last night.
But I wouldn't say he's 100% guaranteed to be a Great Britain half-back. I think Gareth Widdop's coming back from injury. What's the X factor that we haven't had even when we got to a World Cup final? It's what Blake Austin saw and did to break that game open on Saturday night. And the legend has told us enough times you don't have to be involved in every play, but you have to be involved in the big plays. And his magic at Magic
decided the game.
Yeah,
I thought.
Changed the game. After that, the Wigan's effort wasn't going to be enough.
Well, I compared Wigan's performance to London's. They tried hard. They kept going. There was an honesty about it. But they didn't have the class when it mattered.
I don't know where their points are coming from at the moment.
Fair, they had no Powell or Luluai. I think that was if they've had one of them, how many times he'd shot just past the ball just behind the guy? It just didn't quite click.
And we love Sean O'Loughlin on this programme, but again, I'm not sure him playing at standoff is the answer where he is at the moment in his career.
I don't think Adrian Lamb dare take him off, dare he? That was the problem.
But again, in the middle of the park is not where he should be playing. In that creative role. My worry for Wigan is that whoever they're playing, if they get 3 or 4, if their opposition get 3 or 4 scores ahead, I can't see them coming back. I'm not 100% sure what the plan is with Zach Hardacre for them at the moment. Because again, wherever he's played in his career, he's been a threat roving as a fullback, coming into the game as and when he sees fit to make the best difference that he can. That added threat, almost as an auxiliary halfback. And at the moment, I don't know if it's by design or whether being out of the game for 16 months, it does take a deal of time to get back up to the level that you need to, but he's not having that impact. And I'm not criticising him because I don't know what the game plan is. It might be that he's being told to, step back a little bit. But Wigan, to me, have a problem at the moment in that they are now only 2 points ahead of 2 of the other teams at the bottom and Yeah, 4 points could be a lot in the wash-up, maybe 5, as you say, with the points difference. But they've got Hull KR and Leeds coming up in two, I think, their next 3 games. They could be drawn into a relegation battle at the moment. And that's not in any way to have a go at Wigan, but I think that result, as you say, effort is a given with any Wigan team. They're never going to be beaten by much. But they can't afford to lose many more.
No, I was speaking to a media colleague at the weekend. They said Wigan still confident they're going to make the top 5. I'm not so sure about that.
I think that result at Magic possibly ruled that out.
Yeah.
And I thought Adrian Lamb did them, who again is putting his name in the frame for the job for next year, just didn't do himself or his team any favours with what he said afterwards.
Fans are not daft, are they?
They weren't the better
Fans
team
are not
for the
daft.
bulk of that game.
No, they weren't. They tried hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as I've tweeted recently in social media, I don't want a coach telling me his team tried hard. I take that for granted that they'll try hard. Yeah, I'm not bothered with you. That is the minimum requirement. You pull on that shirt, you're going to try hard.
You're not a professional rugby league player if you can't try hard.
Exactly.
Apparently, we haven't given any compliments to Warrington, apart from saying they were really good. And
they were really good. Yeah, they were really good. I thought they. Obviously, Ratchford. No, what is he? 3-4 months out. Yeah. Torn pectoral.
Mammo slid in there okay, didn't he?
Yeah, the only I think they need to keep him fit, and that's the one worry I have about Jake Mammo is in England his injury record is not very good. How good, by the way, Tom Lynham.
Yes,
left winger. That Jurgen Klopp will be signing him up after that. That was for me the try of the weekend. Little chip. Then he passed it, didn't he? To Declan Patton. That was a great moment, I thought.
Darryl Clark is playing exceptionally well at the moment. I think the other person who isn't getting the plaudits, because Austin obviously is head of the Man of Steel voting at the moment, I think Patton, who was given the job at the last minute at the beginning of this season when Kevin Brown was injured, was always going to take some time for that to become a proper partnership. But he's looking as though now it's a joint effort. Austin can't do what he does unless Patton is really disciplined in what he does.
Yeah.
And I think that we're now getting to see the Deck Patton who I think Warrington hoped that he would be, and why perhaps they released Morgan Smith, because you couldn't really afford the two of them. And there's a good balance about Warrington at the moment. I still think there's more to come from them. There's more to come from Ben Curry, who obviously is coming back from a horrendous couple of years of injuries, but clearly is making a contribution. Jack Hughes, again, you talk about effort.
I like him.
There's a guy
He's
that
a good player.
Follow him. If you're just behind him, we're doing all right. So I don't think we've ever said that Warrington haven't played well against Wigan.
No.
Harvey the Vet can't even get in the team.
I know.
He was like a superstar last year.
He's
got a good time last week for Rochdale at the back.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, it is really. And you wonder. I mean, he's had a few games, hasn't he? But it's a redemption year for Warrington. They got to both finals and lost. Interesting how they got Hull KR this week, because Warrington, their form has been a little bit up and down recently, and they did make hard work of it. I thought, it did take a bit of Austin magic, but it's going to be interesting how they go on this weekend. Look, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Warrington, I think it might just be their year. Poor Warrington. So there, we did speak nicely about Warrington.
Noel says we're going to have a good clean out at the end of the season. They have that every year.
The issue is not the clean out. The issue is how much money are they going to be able to spend on their replacement.
Well, as I understand it, they have spent an awful lot of money on their training ground, which is apparently, I was labelled the best I've ever seen by someone I spoke to who should know. They're working hard to improve their income generation for next season, so that might maybe free up a little bit more cash. But the problem is for Wigan, they've lost, like Leeds, they've lost some really good players and they haven't been replaced.
Well, the other problem they've got is that 2 more players could well be coming off the field at the end of the season in Luluai and O'Loughlin.
Yeah.
So not only are you've sold some of your crown jewels, but you might, by dint of retirement, be losing a couple of others as well. And that will free up some of your salary cap, so you need to go out and spend.
Yeah, but as you always say,
but if you can't replace the
Leeds Sinfield is Wigan's O'Loughlin.
Yes, absolutely.
They are players of
They're going to be
a generation.
next to the next coach in the telly in the club tracksuit as director of.
Well, the other interesting thing will be if Luluai and O'Loughlin go on the coaching staff, because that wasn't
their
earmarked career path.
Wasn't that why he came back?
Both of them were.
Yeah, look, I mean, O'Loughlin again, colossal at the weekend in defeat. You talk about try hard. You wouldn't want to fight him for your dinner, would you? But look, great player, and they need. You looked, and I know they didn't have a number 9 playing, but they just looked a little bit frail in key areas for me. And I'm with you. I think they should be looking over the shoulder rather than at what's above them. So, interesting time. Get in touch on Twitter at Forty20 Live. You can get in touch on Facebook, on YouTube as well. Lots of you doing that. By the way, we've been given some tickets to go see Paul Gallen to give away. He's coming to the UK at the end of the season, so there'll be more on that. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow our videos. We'll be getting that on there, so you can have a look at that as well. So that'll be nice for you to. I'm sure it'll be a good night with Mr. Gallen. He's got a few. I think he's got one in. I forget where they are. But
He's got
one in
Doncaster,
Saints,
one in Leeds.
Yeah, so he's going all over. So there's plenty of reasons for you to get involved with that one. We're going to be talking about the Magic Weekend. You know what? What annoyed me yesterday, right? I didn't even realise, and I should realise, I work in the... There's a full round of games in the Championship yesterday, and it was like just an irrelevance. It's like, what are we doing?
Well, that's point one to make about if you genuinely want a festival.
Yeah,
Like
make
the
it all
past week before.
inclusive.
We all need to have access to it.
We're going to talk about the Magic Weekend in a minute. We're just waiting for Brian to come with a tease. Yeah.
That was my phone saying T should be on it.
Is that what it was?
Well, I hope
Is that
so.
what it was? So we'll have a quick chat about
the alarm.
about the Championship. Barrow Raiders, what a win for them, by the way. 54 points to 10. Big win for Batley over Halifax. Bit of a blow that for Fax.
Well, it's
They're
interesting, isn't it?
down to 8th.
Bradford and Fax are both going into that big cup game next week off the back of defeats.
Is the
Bradford,
big
back-to-back defeats.
is the big cup game the reason why they suffered defeats this week?
Well, John Kay last week said he got his team selection wrong, didn't he? He said he should have left some out, but he didn't want to leave them out, and they got spanked. I mean, I don't know. We've got a lot of fans listening. They've absolutely battered them, haven't they?
Things bite you on the bum, don't you? Dane Chisholm.
Hat trick.
What? So apparently they said he wasn't going to be retained at the end of the season. They said,
I tell you what, it's a good job he can't kick goals, isn't it? And he got 5 out of 10, didn't he? It'd have been 50 otherwise.
Well, that's some battering, isn't it? Bradford are back, though. It said in the paper the other week. They're back.
They are.
Not in the top 5 now.
I think the T person is here.
Only 2 points behind.
Sheffield beaten by Toronto.
Yeah,
I was at that game. Toronto blew Sheffield off the park early on there. Huge win at the bottom of the table for Swinton, who all of a sudden have risen to 5th from bottom now. Swinton 22-17 winners over Dewsbury. They leap above Dewsbury.
And with Barrow, it wasn't a great day for Widnes, was it? Because they obviously lost to York, who were up to 3rd. Great result for York. But Widnes, I mean, they're not going to get relegated.
Well, remember when we said, they're going to be in the playoffs. They are going to be in the playoffs now. Or some of us said they might get there. Toulouse, another big win over Lee Centurions.
Who, of course, were skint at the start of the season, just signed Gareth Hogg.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So,
and York, a big win for them at Widnes, as you said, not a good day for Widnes, but certainly a good day for York. They are only 2 points behind Toulouse in 3rd. We cannot forget they are newly promoted. York.
And the highest placed English club.
Yes, that is
Outside
a
of
great
League.
point.
karma is this thing, again, that bites you on the bum. Well done to Oldham stuff in Keighley. What a ridiculous decision that was.
To sack Craig Lingard.
It's won 5 out of 8.
Yeah.
But the loyalty of
because
staying
where
there
they
for 3 months without being paid.
How
to
does
help
that
keep
work?
the
I
club
think
going.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot about that. I tweeted about it last week.
criticised by Keighley's media manager the other week on Twitter.
It's a
for being
disgrace.
negative.
Yeah, it is a disgrace.
Can't.
No,
isn't it?
clearly it is. It
It's a
absolutely
disgrace.
is. In the
I
same
agree.
way that Bradford dispensed with Francis Cummings when he tried to keep them going, working for
Well-
nothing, was a disgrace. That's not. This is nothing to do with coaching ability. It's basic human decency.
Well, Workington have got rid of their coach. They're still out of the playoffs. Newcastle got rid of theirs. They've lost 4 out of their. They've only won 4 out of 9. What is the purpose of such events?
And Keighley started the season with a points deduction that was going to mean that it was unlikely this year they were going to gain promotion.
Yeah,
so
but you know
why
what? They're
would you
playing that
dispense-
well. They could technically still make the playoffs.
So why
but
would you dispense with
I
the
I
coach?
just don't get who's got the gig. Do we know who's got the gig?
No idea.
You know what? I'm with you. It's distasteful. It really is. And you know what? 836 people there. More people went to watch Castleford Tigers ladies on
Should
Thursday.
we do that now?
Let's.
'Cause
You
do
do
it
this.
now.
You're the women's
do it
crusader.
now.
Yeah, I don't know why I am, but I am at the minute.
Well, I think you enjoy the sport, don't you? Enjoy watching it.
I think both trade papers have dropped a ricket on this because there's nothing in it. This is a massive story.
Is that the record crowd for a game in our country?
I've no
then?
idea. I'm going to assume it is because
For a league game,
no
I mean a
one- no one's
normal
into it.
league
Well,
game.
there was no profile of women's rugby league, wasn't until a few years ago. I'm not saying it didn't exist. Obviously, it did, but there's a profile.
Well, shall we say in the Super League era?
Yeah.
Shall we go with that one? I think that's fair, isn't
so
it?
1,148 was it, or
Yeah.
something? Someone pointed out to me today, yeah, it was only £3. Yeah, it was £3.
Don't
On Thursday
matter.
night, don't matter.
That is such an irrelevance.
Outdrew every team in League One. Outdrew 3 out of 7 in the Championship, including those rugby league hotbeds of Barrow, where we're told everyone's passionate about rugby league.
It was only 200 behind Batley against
Yeah,
Halifax.
and Swinton.
There were two long-standing
So-
Championship clubs.
Let's not forget it was a Thursday night.
Yeah, so granted it's a local derby, but it was on the telly. It was a game where you think, well, the result is not necessarily in doubt, and it wasn't. You know, the game went. I think pretty much anyone who watched it, it went the way you'd thought. It would be tight early on. Cass would run away with it late on, which is what happened. But the big number is there were over 1,000 people watching a women's rugby league game on a Thursday. Their crowds have grown all season.
Yeah.
700, 800.
I think that'll go up
now
again.
1,000.
I think that'll go up again now. And all of a sudden, I don't want to use the term fashionable, but for Cass fans, let's go watch the women. They're winning. They're playing great rugby.
Because they're worth watching.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
entertaining in the style and tradition of Castleford.
Yeah,
Some women's
exactly.
football teams, with all the hype, would love a crowd like that.
Yeah.
And this is our responsibility in the rugby league media, that we have to push these stories because nobody else is going to do so. And when we ignore them, we are neglecting our sport because we're too busy filling the paper with crap no one cares about. This is something that people are getting behind, and we're not bothering.
Well, you say it's only £3, or they say it's only £3 in. 1,100, 3,300 quid. Dare say most of them had a pint, a cup of tea,
Absolutely.
an hamburger,
Absolutely.
whatever. All of a sudden, that's £5,000 Castleford have picked up. They'll play whatever 7-8 home games.
Unbudgeted.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's money for nothing,
But
isn't
also, credit to Cass for saying right at the beginning of this season that the women's team were going to play at the Jungle
it? Yes.
and not hide them away on a.
Well, they
local
played at the Rugby Union ground, which is fine. It's nice to go watch there, and the facilities are all right. They are Castleford Tigers. They
yes.
should play at Castleford Tigers.
And it's like we said about LDRL and PDRL at the beginning of this programme. If you're playing in the club colours, if you're representing the club, if you're playing on a big stage, it's a story.
We're doing them a disservice by ignoring them because this is a story. There's never been a higher profile for women's sport in this country, and we're not taking advantage of that as a
And
sport.
we've
And
got
that's
to,
us.
We've got a
That's our
World Cup
fault.
in 2 years.
You know, we are responsible for this. There's loads of volunteers. Look, the players, aren't getting paid, but it is our responsibility. I don't know. Maybe I think in the last few years I've seen my my position in broadcasting diminish slightly, and I'm thinking maybe now it's time to give something back because I don't know when it's going to end. Genuinely don't. So this is
What,
my
Women's
opportunity.
Super League or your time in
His career.
Yeah. So this is my chance to give something back. But I think there is a genuine responsibility that we need to do something because this is something where we can grow the sport. The RFL though, because they've got this 21 for 21 campaign and things like that. But we need to push it ourselves. And I think it's disgraceful. It's not in the papers today. Yes, it's Magic Weekend. Yes, everyone's been busy. But there's page after page of boring transfer story that no one cares about, made up stuff or whatever. 300 pages on the NRL, loads of pages about. There's more pages about amateur rugby league than the women's Super League, and I don't understand
Yeah,
why.
I have to say I agree with
column
that.
after
I
column of
agree
youth
with that.
results. Who reads the youth
I agree
results?
with that.
Who cares? I know
I
people
think
care.
one of the things the women game has got to be careful of is that it doesn't try and grow too quickly. There's got to be players coming in underneath at academy level, and I think we've seen a couple of blowout scores in the Challenge Cup, which you get in the men's Challenge Cup, you get in every cup competition. But there were a couple of Super League teams who got blown away.
There are
So
8
there's a
teams in
clear-
the division,
there's a
aren't there?
disparity.
Yes, and you can work out the two teams at the bottom of the table are probably going to get beaten a lot by the better teams. But that's sport. Obviously, someone's decided at the RFL they need 8 teams in the division. Maybe it would have been better for some of those teams not to be in the Super League. And again, that's not a criticism of the players or the clubs. It's just
You've
there
got
isn't
to
the-
manage growth.
there isn't
That's
the
the-
depth of players, are there?
I would love to see a composite Southern team. So So I think we might not have enough women's to. I know that people like Brixton do a great job with bringing women and girls through, but there may not be enough at the moment for them to form their own team that could play in Super League. But I'm sure there's enough talent in the region that they could be competitive in Super League.
Yeah, maybe.
Stuff like that, maybe a Welsh team.
Yeah.
I saw Widnes last year at Wakefield in the Championship, and Wakefield beat them 50-0, and it was comfortable. And yesterday they beat them in the Cup 20 points to 6. That shows progression from Widnes, who pretty much started from nothing. I would say they've got something against Bradford. Dear me, Aaron. But yeah, so great result for Cass on and off the pitch. They are the benchmark this season.
They'll improve on
when's
that.
The draw?
They'll
when's
improve
the draw?
on that.
When is the draw? I don't know when the draw is. I should
for the next round.
Yeah, I know.
Who's through? Give us all the teams that won.
Right, so Cass beat Feb, obviously. Wigan beat the Army 50-14. Warrington
Played
beat
in
Barrow.
Coventry, interestingly enough.
Yeah, Warrington beat Barrow 38-18. Keighley Albion beat Halifax 57. Bradford beat the RAF 56-0. St Helens beat Stanley 96-0. Wakefield 20, Widnes 6, and Leeds beat York 70-0. And they play each other again in the Super League this weekend.
Oh, by the way, we should mention Miss Prim. Back.
It's another
Richards,
race.
mate. Back after an ACL problem, scored a try, created a few others.
For a year,
as
well.
So well done.
Popular person on social media, I think, this week. But yeah, so
there you go. So well done.
Peter says I shouldn't buy the newspapers. Yeah, but I do because I have to. But
research.
There is
knocks him off his tax
pages,
bill.
There are pages and pages of stuff in there which.
Yeah.
Why can't they dedicate it to stuff that actually is going to?
No, I agree. And maybe because it was on Thursday was a good thing. It got them a big crowd, but it almost took them into last week's news.
It's not as if they don't put a 2-page spread if Leeds play Cass in the paper. They put it in the middle page, and they, even though everyone's sitting on telly.
Can I just feel, I know there's a limited room on the back page. I think they should be on the back page. The results. Let's get with the script, boys.
It's Super League, isn't
it? It is.
We're going to move on to Super League and the Magic Weekend in a minute, and this is part of the problem with the big split between the two. Is there's between the RFL and Super League. People are picking sides, and
what does Women's Super League come under?
Well, it's under the RFL, but the problem is with the RFL website. And again, I'm not criticising people individually. They obviously haven't got enough people to do things. The website's a mess. Because to find Women's Super League, you have to click through about 300 different
Well,
things.
to be fair, mate, if you go on the Men's Super League,
that's
David Furner is still a coach at Leeds.
Is he?
I found that out this weekend. Yeah, he's still a coach. Did you know that?
Well, I know he's still in the city, but I didn't realise he was
He's
still
still the coach. He's still the coach. Yeah,
if I go to the Rugby League website now and look on the women's page, the headlines are out of date. And I know, again, people have other things to do. I'm not criticising people. I understand there are other things to do and other things that need doing, but you can't find the history of the Women's Challenge Cup on there. You can't find anything out there. This was before the final last year when
you were on the BBC.
When I was on the BBC, yeah. I'm still the face of Women's Rugby League on the BBC.
You are. I googled something the other day and you came up with your jacket on.
Up until
looking very smart.
I bet he shaved as well.
I have to say, you're looking smart today, Phil. You've had a bit of a trim and you've got a nice new shirt on. Yeah, you won the lottery or something?
Magic Weekend, you've got to make an effort.
Fair enough.
Up until the semi-final this year, anyway, when I'll be overtaken by whoever. But
one thing I will say, and again, an element of vested interest. On Friday night, it was the Forty20 Cup final, which comes under the auspices of the Yorkshire Men's League, hosted brilliantly by Gould Rugby League, who are new to the sport this season. Even though there was a Northern Union club there in 1934. They do play at the football ground, and they were the hosts. 400 people there, which I'm told is a really good crowd for a sporting event in Gould. The football club down there.
Who was playing?
Bramley and East Hull. So it was equidistant between the two. Really good game. East Hull won it late on. Probably Bramley's indiscipline just cost them in the end, but a decent game, but a real grassroots event where we'll talk about Magic and the impact of it and what's good and what's bad. There is some really good stuff going on there. One person there from the RFL, a young lad called Michael Batchelor, who ran the whole thing, never done it before. Huge credit to him, but surely there needs to be
a little bit more. Yeah. Is that not? That's their remit, isn't it? Grassroots Rugby League. Is that not their job?
There's some really good things going on.
Just to correct something from last week, I mentioned that the Origin deciders would be at Odsal, and they're not. One's at Wakefield, the academy one, and the women's one's at Warrington, I think.
All right, okay.
But if you go onto if you find it, the Women's and Girls Rugby League section of the RFL website, which is full of pictures of Castleford Tigers players, it hasn't been updated since Friday, when 2 people were on a thing on the BBC, which they may or may not have spoken on, I don't know. But there's no updates on the Challenge Cup, there's nothing. There's no excitement.
And I understand and fully appreciate that it is down to resource, but surely as an organisation, you have to put resource into getting your information out.
I'm going to say this, and it might upset people, I don't care.
It never has.
Rugby Football League have, under their auspices, the England team, which occasionally plays Rugby League, which they sometimes, and Great Britain, and this and the other. They have the Challenge Cup, which is a competition with great history. They have the Championship and League One, which I'm fascinated to see now who sponsors that next year, because one assumes that the deal that was ballyhooed last week was just for the top flights.
Right.
Because as we know, the Championship and League One are a vibrant competition.
Well, they are.
They
are.
Yeah, I'm ready for that TV deal that comes in as well. They should be focusing more on the Women's Super League, because it is an elite competition, because they are the best at what they do. All the other competitions they have, Championship and League One, they are not the elite, and you can't promote them as such, because everyone knows that the top division Super League is run by other people. Not that they do much anyway, but
alright, fair enough. Is that it? Have you finished?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Right, let's talk about the Magic Weekend. Did you go? Let us know on Twitter at Forty20 Live, via Facebook, via the YouTube. We all went in various different guises. We were all there. What did we make of the weekend? In fact, can I go first?
Of course.
Right, my family have been to probably the last 4 or 5. All been at Newcastle. I'd say my mum and dad are pretty general rugby league fans. You know, they like watching rugby league. They go watch Bradford, they go watch Castleford, they watch on the telly all the time, listen on the radio. They're your average fan, I would say. I don't think they enjoyed it this weekend. The weekend. Now, people, and I've put this point on Twitter, there are 2 things about the weekend. There's one, what happens in the stadium, which I thought was magnificent. The atmosphere was brilliant. The stadium was reasonably full. I think people stayed. The crowd, I thought, once it built up, stayed quite similar all the way through. So, well done everyone who went for making it a good atmosphere. It was brilliant. The Rugby League was exciting. It wasn't all brilliant, I'm not going to lie, but it was exciting. There was something on the games that kept you interested. So that was fantastic. So that was good. The other side of it is, and you know, I have people telling me, and you're going to tell me because I know you've been to Liverpool. My daughter goes to uni in Liverpool, so I know what a good city Liverpool is. I've got no issue with that. There's plenty to do down by the docks. It's wonderful. But that's half an hour, 40 minutes walk away from where the stadium is. Now, I went in a pub on Saturday night, right? If that pub was near your house, you would want it condemning. You would never go in it. You would not want to go in it. It was a dump. But it was one of only 4 pubs around the ground. So everyone come out of the ground, you're all waiting for taxis or waiting to get on the bus, or a few will have walked down, fair play to them. What happened outside the ground wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough for the weekend. I saw the fans on, I didn't go in it. It sparsely populated when I saw it, but I was there really early, so that might have improved, I don't know. I don't... What is it? Is it a week? Right, is Magic Weekend a weekend for the fans? Because if it is, then I don't think Anfield's the right place to hold it. Is it a weekend to grow the game? If it is, I don't think Anfield's the right place to hold it, because I don't think Liverpool are that bothered about it. Or is it just a money? Is it just to generate income and new sponsors? We saw Fred Dunn from Betfred last week talk about his pride of having his logo on the pitch at the new camp. What a big thing it is for him. I would imagine, therefore, he's going to pay for that privilege next year, which is good. Brings more money if we're going back. Brings more money to the sport. So I want to know, what is the Magic Weekend, because that then changes how I view it. Because inside the ground was brilliant. I loved it. All right, Anfield, apparently the seats a bit tight. It wasn't great in that respect, but I think you're willing to put up with that to go to such a great venue. The players clearly loved it. I loved it, watching it, listening to it, being there. It was brilliant. But outside, I felt I've had a bit of a wasted weekend.
I think there's 2 things. The first thing is you've hit upon the key question, which is, what do we want from the Magic Weekend? What is it? You know, it's now that we've got loop fixtures, it can be a very important way of determining where teams are going to finish. So from a performance and a playing point of view, it's got to be right, what we're doing it for and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
It can have a big impact in terms of the results. I think the other thing is we're too obsessed with the numbers that go.
Yeah.
The only people that care are us.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that comment on it, whether they're there or not there, it's completely irrelevant to the outside world.
Yeah.
You work for some major national
they
national
were there all
media
day
outlets.
yesterday. They were there all day.
And not
yesterday.
only that, but they wouldn't have been interested if it hadn't been an event.
No.
It's a festival that we should be very proud of.
Yeah.
On the basis of the fact that other sports look on it with envy. They'd like to be able to get all of their teams in one place on a weekend. The broadcaster likes it because it's incredibly cost effective for them. It's set up the cameras once but get six times your value.
Yeah.
So I can see all the reasons why we should be doing it. But actually, why are we doing it? And some of the things that you've just asked is, if it's a money making venture, then let's put a bid out for the next 5 years so fans know where it is.
Yeah.
If it is going to be Barcelona in 5 years' time, if it is going to be Dublin in 4 years' time, if Coventry want to get involved in 3 years' time, then let's sort all of that out now, because it's purely a money-making venture. Let's put it to the highest bidder. If Spurs want to get involved, great.
Yeah.
I think what Robert Elston said in his interview to Sky afterwards last night was that it's going back to Liverpool again next year.
Yeah.
I think the deal that he has done, and obviously the contacts he's got in that city, mean that it's all, unless there's a very good economic reason why it shouldn't be there, it's going there again.
But the people, and my family included, I don't think we'll go back to Liverpool.
Well, I think the issue then becomes, who is it for?
Well,
is it for the clubs?
Yeah.
In terms of income generation, is it for the broadcaster in terms of it suits their contract? Is it for the players? And there's nothing wrong with that, including the PDR.
The players
and
clearly
the NDR.
loved it.
It's an
and
occasion.
And
it's
again,
an absolute occasion.
But I'm looking for your fans. They've been to Anfield now.
Yeah.
Think, oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, I won't mind going to that new stadium or that stadium. This is the biggest question that's come out. What is it for?
Well, the issue, I think that there's two. When I say we shouldn't be concerned about the numbers are an indicator to us. It's not something to beat ourselves up with. Why were the sales lower than most other Magic weekends? Because people had taken the view that perhaps as fans Anfield wasn't for them. Now I think that has to be an economic consideration, because although the atmosphere in the ground was brilliant, I think the one thing Liverpool has even over Newcastle is it keeps the sound in brilliantly.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere that was made by the fans that were there came over on TV really well, which is very important. But also in the ground, you felt part of something really big, irrespective of the number of people that were in there. But if fans aren't going to go, that's got to tell you something as well. And the issue for me was that I was just pleased that where I stayed last night was in the centre of Liverpool. Because if you're going, the thing is, three games as an aficionado is still a tough watch. It's a lot. You wouldn't sit at home and put 3 DVDs on one after the other without maybe going and having a bite to eat or putting a kettle on. So if you're taking people who aren't absolutely passionate about all of the teams that are playing, they need an outlet. You wouldn't want them walking around Anfield.
You wouldn't have wanted your good lady walking around Anfield last night, would you, at 9 o'clock waiting for you to come out from work?
She had to be in the stadium for 3 games.
Yeah.
Now, in Newcastle, it's great. You meet in a coffee bar in the shopping centre next to it. You can have a wander
Well, you
around.
can go outside and have a pint in the bar outside the ground, but
And
you're
come
still
back
at the
in.
ground and
Yeah.
you can come back in. There's nothing to do there.
So I think that's the fan experience.
And this is this is
Probably
my word.
5 out of 10 at Liverpool. The game day experience inside the stadium might have been an 8 or 9 out of 10.
I agree, but the outside would have been a 2. And I get people saying, "Oh, you know, Liverpool's a great city. It's a wonderful city.
But
It's a wonderful
there's
city."
more than one. And
That's
so-
like it's the equivalent, of being in Bradford and saying, "Oh, Leeds is a great city. It's just over there, mate. It's about 10 in a taxi."
In every city, in every town, there are parts of it that perhaps are more for the locals than the tourists.
The problem
And
is,
Anfield
right?
is in the wrong part of
It
town.
is. I was with an Everton fan, and a joke said, "Oh, I bet you feel dirty coming here, being at Anfield." He went, "Oh, I don't mind coming. I'll come and watch my team play, no problem." He said, "But I never come here for a drink, or I never go to Everton." He said, "I go to Everton every other week, and I would never think of go to Everton and think, oh, I'll go on the bus, I'll have a few beers, and I'll come home." He said, "Because it's a dump. I would not be seen dead here. I don't want to be here. I'll go watch the game and I go home."
The centre is magnificent, and the
It is.
tourist areas.
And maybe when Everton get the new ground down on the docks, then we'll go, wow, this is a place to be. But the problem is, and I've been thinking about this, Newcastle is one of a very, very few. Because we're all on about going to Tottenham. Around Tottenham is not a great area.
No,
you would not want to be around there. But
the difference, I think, might be the facilities within that stadium.
well, this is where I go.
Because I think you could spend a long time in the stadium.
Well, that's my point. So now are we going? We'd all like to go to Tottenham. We'll go. You know, we've got a year's notice. We'll all go to Tottenham. That'll be brilliant. You know, it's a purpose built for the NFL. It's got to be right. I mean, everyone that's been says it's wow. We've got to go there. Are you going to get more fans if you go right? We're going there.
I think the concept of Magic works.
It does. Clearly, it does.
Because the Aussies have taken it on and had a fantastic event in Brisbane. Now, we need to decide what it is about that concept that is good for the sport. And one of the things is media profile. So I think there's a lot of people saying it's a great idea now to maybe split it up and have, three double headers or three, however you... But I think the Magic Weekend either has to stand or fall on the fact that everybody's there. And we need to go back to what we've always said is it's a standalone weekend for the sport. It's a festival for everybody. So, we need to get Bradford, Featherstone, Dewsbury, Oldham, Rochdale. Those fans need to be able to go if they want to go. Rather than take all of those numbers in the Championship and leave one away from who might have gone to Magic. You're defeating yourself. So if it's vital for the sport, if we can make political and broadcast capital out of it, because... Let's not forget, we've got a new broadcast deal coming up in 2 years. This might be a very central element of it, having a Magic Weekend. So don't destroy the bits that work, but it has to be... Identify some cities. I think it would work in Nottingham. Because I think the football grounds, it's near enough to say, let's make a weekend of it. And that's part of what was missing at Liverpool as well. If you live in St Helens or Wigan or Warrington or even Leeds, why would you necessarily pay for a hotel? It's almost easier to just drive home.
Well, just from a point of view, again, I use my family as an example, but my mum and dad went, 250 quid for 2 nights hotel, plus you got to get there, plus 40 quid in taxis. They actually went into Liverpool, so it adds to your expense. So you're 300 quid there, bit of breakfast on top, bit of food, your tickets. You're up to 400 quid before you've even got in the ground. And then if you're having a few pints every day, that's 400 quid. That's a lot of money you're asking people to pay out.
Well, then suddenly Barcelona becomes an option. Dublin becomes an option, because if fans are paying that amount of money with enough notice, you make it the biggest event it can be.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I think we are in that compromise area where we've had a bit of money extra for the clubs. Fine, not a problem with that. It'd be nice to know how much that was. But less fans have gone.
Yeah.
Where does it become commercially viable?
Well, the interesting thing is, I'll ask you about this, Rich. Liverpool have paid more than... We're told they've paid more than Newcastle.
Yep.
But when I get there and I get in a taxi to the ground, the guy's going, why are you going to the ground? I'm like, oh, there's a rugby on. Rugby? Who's playing? What's happening? I don't know anything. He's a taxi driver. It's his job to know what's going on in his city, and he doesn't even know it's on.
I wonder if that's partly due to the local tourist board or whatever.
Well, I don't know.
If they're paying to hold an event, why wouldn't you promote it?
Well, I have to say, on the dock area, where we've spent most of the morning, you're inundated with things you can do. I
was in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago and I saw nothing about it.
If you're going to market it, even if you've only got a very, very limited budget, get something down there. Because that is where it's heaving with people who, may pick up on the fact that, there's an event going on today, I might want to go and watch a bit of that. Yeah. But it's almost like it's a separate part of the city.
You went to the NFL a few years ago. Did they have the giant NFL ball outside?
They had loads.
We need
outside.
a giant NFL. We need a giant
ball.
We could just take around the place and just stuck in the middle of Liverpool in the back of a truck and go, oh, what's this?
Yeah,
I think the important thing that probably got missed a bit last week with Betfred's renewal is that Dacia also renewed, and so it looks as though we are going to have a Magic Weekend for at least the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But now is the time. I mean, I was talking to somebody again who was a fan at the event yesterday, who was saying to me, do you know where the venues are for the Australian series? We will be coming back here again. Because the thing about Liverpool is that the fans have been, they went to a Four Nations final, they went to an England-New Zealand test game. Magic doesn't have that same attraction, maybe, because we've been there twice in the last... So do you know where and why don't we know where the Australian venues are going to be?
This is the thing with the Newcastle thing is, we need to go back to Newcastle, but the crowds went down there, which is a conveniently forgotten fact when people... And I'm not saying I wouldn't go back to Newcastle, I enjoyed it, but they still fell year on year at Newcastle, didn't they?
But is it
last year was?
The thing is, don't beat yourself up about the number. Just use it as an indicator.
But the number's only relevant if that's the target.
And I think, unfortunately, we made too much, even Super League did, of it not being the worst crowd. You're still pandering to mediocrity there.
Hashtag negative rugby league.
That's nothing to do with it. It's deciding what you want the event to be and how best you service it.
Well, it's like the Summer Bash, isn't it? The Summer Bash is just going to the seaside for the weekend.
There's nothing wrong with
that. Exactly. We're not going to throw
Steve Mascord made a point about the Bash and said, I've realised this week at the Bash, it's not actually even about the rugby. No. It's about going going in the pub and there's Leigh fans, there's Fed fans, and you're having a few beers and everyone's having a good time.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
What was it about Liverpool that people were moaning about? I can't remember that. I mean, the fixtures weren't necessarily inspiring, were they, as much as they could have been?
No, but again, I think they worked on the basis of the fact that what you want is competitive games, and if there's always an indication that one team who plays away, they certainly do, one year are not going to follow that form. No. But we got, to all intents and purposes, games that looked on paper very competitive.
I know what I was going to say, and it was the whole growing the game thing. It's a misnomer because if anyone still believes Liverpool are going to have a rugby league team in 3 years, then
where
switch
was he?
off and watch.
Was he on the pitch announcing his team?
Of course he wasn't. But we need to keep him in the sport, so it's not happening. The NFL, massive sport, isn't it, on the telly? Everyone watches the NFL. Everyone's got a team. Right? How many of those people who watch the NFL religiously on Sky and on Channel 4 before it have ever been anywhere near the stadium of the team they follow?
No, they're not. No.
Just because people in Southampton might watch rugby league once on the telly, they might have watched it this weekend. They might have after the whatever was on before it on Sunday, and this main event. They just leave Sky Sports main event on at home, and St Helens versus Castlewood comes on. They go, oh, we'll watch this, see what happens. They might think, oh, I've been enjoying this. I'll follow one of these teams. People physically going and watching a team is not the most important thing. People who may watch a team on TV, follow them, buy a shirt, buy mail order, never go anywhere near the ground, but pay their money to Sky, who, lest we forget, still pay all the bills. That's important. The more eyes we can get on the sport, they don't have to go and follow a team necessarily. They just have to enjoy watching rugby league. We can't pretend, when the game's been going since 1895, on Liverpool's doorstep, that suddenly plonking a team in Liverpool, where there have been teams before, suddenly 20,000 people are going to come out of the woodwork and decide to watch rugby league. Because if they want to do that, they can either go watch St Helens, Warrington, Widnes, Wigan, wherever, down the road, or just watch it on telly like everyone else. Because it's a TV product. We are a TV product. And we need to make sure we're a very attractive TV product. And as Genghis says, people who watched yesterday will have seen the crowd. Looks all right on the telly. Another empty seats. There's empty seats wherever we go.
Yeah, of course.
We're not rugby union. We're not football. We can't afford to. We don't have a fan base which is going to sell out Twickenham at 10 quid a pop or whatever to watch Sarries versus Quins.
No, and so you know what people mention about the empty seats. I actually think if there weren't any empty seats, it'd put you off going. You can literally walk in and go, "Look, some seat. We'll just sit here. I've got a seat number, but I'm going to sit there."
It's not about whether the stadium is full or not. It's about the atmosphere that's generated.
It was good. It was great. It was great.
Came over really. You felt that the event was big.
It was.
I think the other thing that is probably key is that we either need to look at cities where stadia are in the middle. So that is your Newcastle and your Cardiff and.
It's very hard, having been to all the football, there's not that many where there's lots to do.
You look at a stadium that has everything self-contained in it. So I would look at, say, Coventry.
Right.
Because we're all big fans of the Bears. We think they're doing
I saw the guy from the Bears. He would come up to me, introduce himself. Michael.
We think they're doing a great job in trying to promote the sport down there with very limited resource. We took a Four Nations game, double header there, and never went back. But if, let's say, their stadium at the Ricoh Arena, and I know it's got issues with ownership and all that, but one of the things they did really well when that doubleheader international was on was they had the fan zone inside. Yeah, there were things to do. There were coffee bars. There were restaurants. There were stands you could go and visit. You didn't have to watch every minute of the game. So if you can do it self-contained, I think there's a hotel on the site. So if you wanted to stay over, you may not say, well, let's have an evening in Coventry. It's a bit, having studied there, it's a bit hit and miss. But you could make a weekend of it because the facilities in the stadium are so good. we've got to decide what is a great fan experience and balance that with the economics of it.
Do you
and
think
actually
we
go
could...
out and look for stuff?
Yeah, I know you mentioned the Magic Weekend. I do think if they're looking to get new investment into the sport, I think these loop fixtures, they need to say to the club. And Robert Elson did say loop fixtures will be a one-hit wonder. They won't be here anymore. I think you need to say to maybe do St Helens, Wigan, Warrington, and I don't know, obviously not Widnes anymore, but another team. You four, you're going there. Leeds, Cass, Hull car, you're going there.
I think they've got two things to sort out. One is they made a conscious decision to start this year with derby fixtures to give the season a real big boost.
Which worked in that respect.
Yeah, but once you do that, those derby fixtures, then you
Yeah.
can't repeat them because the danger is with loop fixtures that
Yeah.
familiarity breeds contempt. So that means that you're going on the road necessarily without your major derby. But I think we need to do two things, and I think it's been exemplified this week as well, more than it has in previously. I think we need to keep the Magic concept as a round, but I think we need an on-the-road round as well.
Yeah. Does the Magic Weekend as the one-off game, does that need to be taken out of it now? Should, for instance, Catalan have foregone a home fixture this year to play Wakefield?
It works in... I mean,
and then next year, vice versa, Wakefield...
Well, there's a lot of debate now about do we have two rounds at Easter anymore. It seems increasingly obvious that the second Easter round is your Magic round. So it's encompassed in the competition, and you play at a different time of the year on a bank holiday, so everybody still has the opportunity to make money. But we as supporters need to buy into this because we're too precious about home and away. And everybody having exactly the same amount of games.
But is that the owners of the club? Is that the chairman that are more precious than the fans?
The fans have got to buy into it as well.
Because I think as a season, they get 14 home games. You're getting 13 this year.
Yeah.
But we're going, you get a half price ticket to go there.
Everybody does it. That's the thing. Everybody's got to do it. And I think, again, you don't compare with the NRL all the time, but some clubs have more than one home ground, but every club takes a game on the road.
Yeah,
and they go into country areas and they go into development areas, and they play up at Darwin where they've just had a new facility built. They play out at Perth where they're now playing State of Origin on the back of it. They play out of Mudgee in the country and Orange because they're as passionate about rugby league there as home fans are on their own patch. But they play at Christchurch because they're testing the waters. Could we have a second New Zealand team? We need to take on that same strategic responsibility that clubs need to have an onus upon them, and the fans need to buy into the idea that one of their games is for the good of the sport rather than the good of their club.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's additional to the Magic Weekend. So we don't have a whole load of loop fixtures, but you have home and away and then Magic Weekend and an on-the-road weekend.
Lots of suggestions of where to go. Nottingham, a few people have said that. Stephen says Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United play the Championship games on a bank holiday Monday.
Well, I wondered about doing Liverpool one day, Everton the next day. Would that have gone, I want to go on both, I'll buy a double ticket? I don't know. I think
guess it's logistics of everything else, isn't it? But as you say, if we are a TV sport, stroke radio sport, then it's a perfect weekend for a broadcaster to pick up. It's where we can take it from there. People saying make the last 16 of the Cup, the Magic Weekend, the quarter-finals. We've got the semi-final doubleheader now.
The problem there
the thing is you don't know who's going to be in it.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing about Magic that we need to decide is in, and I understand why Rob Elston said what he said at the end of it. We need to evaluate and take out the positives and that. I just think we need to set a 5-year plan for the Magic Weekend and say we know where we're going to be for the next 5 years.
Cass drew St Helens, a tough ask at the minute. Leeds could stay up by 2 points because they beat London. Wigan could miss out on the top 4-5 because they had to play Warrington. We've had this argument before. If we'd have rocked up this weekend, and I'll use the table as it is after the event, and gone, right, 1 place 2, blah, 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 you would have had Saints Warrington, good game. Catalans Hull, good game. Cass Wakey, good game. Salford Hull, Huddersfield, decent. Wigan Leeds, and Hull Car London. There would have been, it's almost like they say moving day in golf. You've got a chance to sneak on your rival and say, right,
I think what you'd need to do is have a cup round before Magic Weekend so that you've got 2 weeks
to prepare.
Yeah, you know what the fixture. Everybody buys tickets in advance because they don't know who they're going to be playing, but they know it's going to be the team that's next to them in the league. But 2 weeks before, you promote the hell out of it because you know what the fixtures are going to be. You could do that. I don't think with a week's notice you could do it.
I don't think it's. Is it that relevant? I don't know.
No,
Saints would have known they were playing Warrington anyway.
Fans will go, you know.
Yeah, I think
Wakefield fans would go whether they're playing Catalan or Huddersfield.
You know. But would more, how many fans didn't go from Cass yesterday thought, well, Saints are playing great, we're not playing great, I'll watch it on the telly. If it had been Wakey, they'd have gone, right, we're going, because it's a fair game, let's see what happens.
The danger with that is you'll get some fixtures you don't want, like derby fixtures that, or loop fixtures, or fixtures that were played the week before, but you can't have a perfect system. What you can have is give the fans enough notice of when and where these games are going to be. And I just think if you said now that in 3 years' time Magic Weekend is going to be in Dublin, that fans would already be saying, right, well, I know
we're off.
It's only 45 quid if I book my flight in advance. I know it's only going to take me 45 minutes to get there, which with the greatest respect to the M62 is quicker.
Can I raise a point about Liverpool? Should the council or the Super League have requested buses just going from the ground, bus every 2 minutes,
100%.
20 buses, that's all you need.
The other
back
thing you
and
need
forth,
is you need a park and ride.
Well,
on the edge of the city.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So is there, maybe that would have improved the experience.
Yeah.
And these are things. Does anyone actually the RFL? It's not their fault anymore. I'm not blaming you. Does anyone sit down and go, right, let's get 20 fans in and say, right, why was it for you? Because those 20 fans might all have a completely different opinion on what happened.
I think's really interesting as well is we haven't been told the amount of money that Liverpool Council have paid to get the event. What it should be as part of that deal is not necessarily just cold hard cash, which I understand the club chairman would prefer, is it should be plus 50 grand of marketing spend. So the onus is on Liverpool Council not just to pay us some money to bring the event, but to either pay a similar amount of money or use that money to promote the event and have buses liveried up going round the week before, have taxis with their doors saying, cheap rates to Magic, or billboards down on the pier head or at Albert Dock, or 10% off a cup of coffee if you produce your Magic admission card. All of that is marketing spend in its truest sense, and that's what we don't do. We've said, we'll have some more cash that we can give to the club, so we know it's economically viable. But people in Liverpool, as you say, if they don't know it's on, they ain't going to go there.
No, and they didn't know it was on. That was the one big thing.
And that's the other piece of research we need to do. How many people who were there were from the locality? How many people in Newcastle were from the northeast?
So you're bringing their new officers can get someone to work on that.
They can. What's happening on social media?
It's people discussing the Magic Weekend. People saying it's a waste of time, but what's people like involved in rugby league. A few people who have long paragraphs about what they did, what they enjoyed.
Go on then, read a few out. Read a few out. Oh, you find it.
But people are saying, as we've said, it's a perfect location if you're from like Wigan or whatever, because you just go home again, can't you? Not far enough away. Neil says, we tried to go for the day but really enjoyed it. The rugby was good. The LDRL festival was great to see. The fan zone was better, being close to the ground. Having Stanley Park next door was great as well. My son and a couple of friends had a kick about with a ball for a half an hour between. What's not to enjoy? No, likewise, my family and I have been to all the Magic Weekends. The ground atmosphere was good. Unfortunately, only half the package. You must give fans a nice selection of pubs and restaurants and things to do and visit. Most of us then possibly stay both days. It's a marketing tool, but let's make it an enjoyable marketing tool. Why, when we've already paid an events company who are very professional to run the game day atmosphere on the pitch, do we then employ another person who doesn't know how to use a microphone to shout into it?
I don't know.
At the grand final, we employed him again. More foolers.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
That's not inside Rugby League, by the way.
No, I didn't realise he was there.
Well, he did used to have a podcast.
I didn't realise he was there.
I think we need
jury's out for me.
I think we do need to decide how do we make it a special event. And one of the things is the rugby. Now, you can't predict before you go that you're going to get great games. And I think we did really well this year, and I think you're right that it's not about the quality of the games, it's the fact that if a game is close and exciting, we didn't have too many that weren't captivating, and those that are aficionados looked at that Huddersfield performance and just went, wow, although that wasn't
I think the fans enjoyed it. I think they enjoyed the misery Hull were having, but I also think they enjoyed the skill.
We need to make more of it. We need to have a slightly bigger gap between the games so you can put maybe a concert on. or if PDRL is going to be played, it isn't a quick 5 minutes each way and off. Give them 15 or 20 minutes. Really make them enjoy. I think again that's the other thing we need to do in consultation with our broadcast partner is how can we make it more of an event. So between the second game and the third game on each day, let's have a concert, even if it's only for 15-20 minutes. Let's have a band that people know or an artist that people know, somebody who's got a new LP to flog maybe, who can come on and do a set of 2 or 3 songs, and let's make it the kind of occasion that people might go, oh, I actually wouldn't mind listening to him. I'm not a big rugby fan, but I can get rugby and the bloke I want to see.
Well,
they make a fortune these days, don't they? They're having music after racing.
Well, Anfield now can host concerts, you do know that, don't you?
And that's the thing about making it an event.
Close off a stand, then into a stage.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing with if you're not going to sell out the stadium, which we were never going to do, we're never going to sell it out, is you have areas where you can do stuff. You can put a stage up there and it doesn't affect the attendance.
I agree with that, by the way.
Plus, it's the end of the football season, so you can take more liberties with the pitch because they're going to take it up anyway.
Because that's for people that want it moving. That's the only time you're going to get it at Liverpool is this 2 weeks probably.
The only time we can have it in August or wherever would be at a rugby ground. Stroke brackets union. Because they're not bothered about the pitch.
And if you think Barcelona are going to let Rugby League choose when they play at the new camp,
and have Betfred's logo written on it,
that's not going to happen. No. Sorry, that's not going to happen.
And this is a good time to have it, this bank holiday weekend.
Barcelona, I wasn't here last week, just to go back to that. Can I suggest that maybe we open up that to a double header potentially and look at straight away saying we want to beat the record again? I would propose the 2 grand finalists, the cup winner, and Catalans. If Catalans are one of them, then obviously you have a default setting as to who would come in. I think that'd be pretty good. If you knew when your team won in October or got to the grand final, right, we're off to Barcelona on that day, book your hotel, book your blah 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 blah. I think that would work.
You could even recreate the charity shield, couldn't you? If you've got the grand final winners against the Challenge Cup winners.
Yeah.
Peter, I was not referring to Helen Skelton. She's very good. She's very good.
Yeah, very good. So that's.
But again, it's going back to advanced planning.
Yeah.
That we've been to Barcelona. It's exceeded expectations on every level.
Yeah.
We've set a new record. When are we going again?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we've got to Anfield, we've got Anfield. Oh yeah, we've got to Anfield. It's like almost like the government releasing bad news. Oh yeah, we've got to Anfield. Don't tell anyone, but we're going. You know, Elston, he more or less said it like you said. Just come out and say it. We're going. You've done the deal, Robert. You've signed it. Just tell us we're going. People then go on the old Premier Inn or the whatever, the Airbnb, whatever it is they use. Right, I'll book. I'm going. Not a problem. I'm going.
I think the other thing that is important is that I was speaking to somebody on Sunday who doesn't normally follow rugby league and had been sent to the occasion because it had that feel about it. There wasn't too much of the sport this weekend, as far as I can tell, particularly from a football point of view. Yeah. I think there was a playoff game, but it was a lower league.
Lower league. Yeah.
So this was somebody who wouldn't normally have covered rugby league, but was sent because the event has a resonance to it. And when you started talking to them and saying, "Oh, there's a team in Toronto these days," is there? I didn't know. Oh, there's a team that could be admitted next year from Ottawa, and the hope is that Toronto and Ottawa at some stage might bring in a North American television deal. Behind that, there's even a possibility of a New York. Is there? All right, yeah. And in France, you've seen the Dragons yesterday. You know they're the cup holders. Yeah, we've done a piece on the Dragons. Well, Toulouse could get promoted, and there's a feeling certainly from Robert Elston that a French derby would be really good for Super League. So at the moment, he's really pro Toulouse. Is there? What was the? Oh yeah, that broadcasting team over there. That's Louis Bonnery. He used to be a French international. He's over here covering it, even though it's Sunday and Catalan aren't playing because the pictures are going back to. Are they?
Yeah.
It gives you the chance to sell the wider aspect of the sport and change people's preconceptions as to what they think it is. So announce it now. Let all the major broadcasters and newspaper writers say, right, well, when we get the diary out and we're sending our sports writer to an event, on that bank holiday weekend he's doing magic, it's rugby league. But if they don't know about it till the week before or where it's going to be, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, we tend not to either, do we? Because we have to wait till all the fixtures come out and then have to plan everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Just say it's going to be now. Just say now.
Yeah,
I agree.
When it is, what's happening?
We must know when the Premier League football season ends next year. or
Yeah,
have
of
a
course
good
we do.
idea.
We already
course we
know
do.
when our grand final's going to be next year. You work it back from that to the bank holiday weekend. It's
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think the jury's out. I think we need, I'm not rubbishing it, and if it went back, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think there's things straight away they could do with minimal cost to improve it. I think we need a bit of fan interaction on it. I think we need to know the purpose of it, and then we go from there.
yeah, but I think you announce it now for next year, irrespective.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you're right. It's little things that probably don't cost a lot, like having buses
Yeah.
from the ground.
What would that,
to
if
the
they've paid
areas
all
of
that money?
Liverpool
What would
where
it
you-
cost to pay the petrol and 20 bus drivers for a day? Couple of grand,
and
£5,000.
And the great thing about Liverpool, if you haven't been and you're thinking of it for next year, if that's where it's going to be, is the centre and the dock area now is a real
It's beautiful.
destination city.
But when you've got to spend a tenner in a taxi to get there, and you've got to wait 40 minutes for your taxi to come, you think, you know what, I can't be. I'm just going to go
And
back
it's
to the
raining.
hotel.
Well, here's
Yeah.
Tom, who says he was in a taxi. Taxi driver was amazed how he could watch 6 games of rugby for 20 quid. That was the season ticket holder price.
No,
Don't know what you
fair
pay.
play.
It's all about different offers at the end, which people have got upset about, as they always do.
Ah.
People are idiots.
Don't.
They couldn't stand of all of his fans get along with one another. He was annoyed Liverpool Council promoted it more than they would have gone. So blame the council. Blame
There
politics.
was nothing in
It's
Liverpool.
politics.
There was nothing.
It's got to be a part of the deal, hasn't it? That-
Yeah.
And with the greatest respect to the chairman of clubs, who do a magnificent job, they will be getting more money from this Betfred deal for next year. So forego the amount that Liverpool City Council might be saying coming to you, spend it on marketing in the city. Because if you get 10,000 more people, you'll get more money back that
I
way.
mean, I'm surprised because I thought we just did grassroots social media campaigns and sold tickets for big events these days, and that's all that works, and then we can take the credit afterwards.
By the way, we did tell you on this show, a couple of months ago,
Oh, yeah.
that there was going to be a big new deal, so we did tell you.
And
Who knew?
it's a big positive story.
Of course
because
it is.
More money's coming in. I mean, again, they didn't tell us how much, but they did.
Well, record deal, mate. At
Yeah.
least they we're shouting about it. We should do more of it.
And it was a nice little thing there at Super League headquarters
Yeah.
in this trendy area of Manchester. It cost 38 quid to have an haircut.
Which you didn't do.
No.
You're gonna say.
I think the other thing that is important is if the media outlets are going to be more aware of what we're doing by having an event like Magic, then so too are other sponsors. So I think, again, marketing is not necessarily all above the line. Some of it, you've got to spend it because it'll come in later.
Yeah.
I would have been really confident taking new potential commercial partners to inside the stadium and saying to them, for not a large amount of money in terms of overall sports sponsorship, you can have a piece of this. Now, it might not be this event because it's tied up with Datcher and Betfred, but this is what we can offer you. All of the fans, great atmosphere, competitive games. Why wouldn't you want to be part of it? So, it should work on. And then you'd get them in a taxi and take them to a hotel on the front.
Yeah.
We live in
With the
interesting
blacks
times.
out windows.
Yeah, and out for dinner.
We live in interesting times, and the Super League and the RFL do need to work together more. And they need to thaw this icy relationship that appears to be between the two, because we are better together, as someone far better than I once said, and we need to work together for the betterment of the sport.
I agree with that.
And
There should not be championship playing. Maybe you say at the top two in the championship, you're playing at the Magic. I don't know. There's ways
Because
and means.
obviously,
There's
yeah.
ways and means of doing it.
Or
One of the
the
most-
championship play on the Thursday and the Friday, bearing in mind that those are specific nights where rugby league is normally on the telly, and it leaves Saturday and Sunday free for them to go to Magic if they want, or watch it on the telly, because that works. We're trying to secure a new broadcasting deal, so we want to get as high television viewing figures as we can. So if Bradford and Featherstone and Oldham fans are sitting at home and watching it, that's equally as good as them being in the stadium for our next broadcasting deal.
I don't want to use phrases like uplifting and inspiring because they're almost patronising these days, but if you look at the LDRL and the PDRL things that went on the pitch at half time during some of the games at the Magic weekend, they were perfect examples of how Super League and the RFL have to work together on some things.
Yeah.
And they need to work together on everything. And people taking sides for whatever reason, who are being fed information by people at clubs, we need to work together.
Yeah.
We need
I
to work
think
together.
you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said we know the details of the Betfred deal for Super League. We know it's a record deal. At the moment, they sponsor the lower divisions. Have those lower divisions lost a sponsor?
I know some club chairman, as we saw last year, think they can go alone and make it successful, but they can't. You know, the facts of the matter is, and I saw people getting excited about the Sky figures for the Summer Bash, and you know, it's once a year thing. But you're not going to get those numbers elsewhere. You're not going to get them on BT. You're not going to get them on Premier. BT aren't going to pick up Second Division Rugby League. I don't even know why I'm saying that. You're not going to get them on Premier. You're not going to get them on Free Sport. We need to work together. And I know there's not much Championship Rugby League on Sky, and I know it's only on because Toronto pay. You're not going to get anything.
Well, we'll move on. It's time for the old predictions. It is the Coral Challenge Cup quarterfinals. We will start off, Mr. Kaplan, with Hull FC against the Catalans Dragons. Thursday night.
I know you think that Hull are keeping some of their powder dry for this. I just feel that there is something about the Dragons at the moment, and the manner in which they just saw out the game against Wakefield, which perhaps is not a game they would have won recently.
Missing a couple of key men as well.
Well, not missing 3 key men, because we talked about the spine of a team. When you haven't got Sam Tompkins, Greg Bird and Michael McAloran, but you still find a way to win, that tells me you're travelling all right at the moment. The fact that they're staying because they have to, because it's a short turnaround. Again, I go back to the fact that it cost them virtually, you know, everything they had to bring that trophy. They're not going to give it up lightly. I'm going for the Dragons. I think this is a difficult week for Hull, because I think there is an expectation amongst their fans that they can almost forgive the aberration at Magic if they get it right and into a semi-final. Don't take your eye off the Dragons. I think they're going to do it by 6.
Without those 2 Challenge Cup wins, people would look at Hull FC much differently. I know that's a stupid thing to say because you only win 3 things and that's one of them. They were good against Castleford, but Castleford were dreadful. They were awful against Huddersfield, but Huddersfield were very good. Catalans having won in Barcelona, I don't think we know how important that was for them as a team and a club. And I think the players who are not Catalans or not French, I think that might have opened their eyes, because the way Steve McNamara spoke after that game about how important it was to play in Barcelona and how hard working the Dragons, the Catalan people are, the French people are, and how the team represents them, I think that might have opened a few eyes to that club. And I think they'll win comfortably on Thursday, because I think they're playing for something more. And I think I will go, well, Stephen's gone for Catalans by 10, and I'll go for Catalans by 10 as well.
Wow. I have to say, I all night I've been thinking Hull. And now I'm getting a little bit, I don't know. Hull chucked it in against the Dragons the week before they played Cass. Cass weren't great. They beat them. Game was over after 20 minutes, in my opinion. They won it. This is a Hull team that went to Warrington and won. That is who's, you know, not many are going to do that this season. When there's something on the line, I think Hull, and they've shown it in 2 cup finals, that they've pulled out a performance. And the cup is special. I think all week they won't have even. I know Lee Radford was furious with the performance, but he can't be too downbeat on it, because they have to win this week. I think they will win. I think it's going to be a cracker. You know, I think it's going to be tight. I'm going to go Hull by 1. Right, also in Hull, on the other side of the city, on Friday, it is Hull Kingston Rovers against Warrington.
I go back to the fact that I think it would be a benefit to Hull KR to not progress in this competition. I think the fish that they need to fry, which is a slightly appropriate analogy in the city of Hull, is survival. I think they're already planning for what they're going to do next year on and off the field, but that is purely contingent on them being in Super League. I also think Warrington have got this added incentive of we got to both finals last year and didn't perform. So I can't see anything than a Warrington win, and I think it'll be by about 14.
Are you worried that Steve Price might be banned after his spear tackle on Wolfie?
5 games.
He nearly killed him.
Warrington
might go bust when the guy sues him.
He came from behind. It was a completely unprovoked attack.
He showed he was quite strong, didn't he?
Well, talk about a head injury. His head was on the wrong way round when he finished.
That was the best thing about it. I didn't know that had happened when I was in the...
Grady, definitely.
Yeah. Someone pointed out on social media this week, obviously Huddersfield social media is crap because Hull couldn't get up for that game. Hopefully the Catalans are crap this week as well. You've got to go for the Wolves. I mean, you remember that semi-final a few years ago when we all wrote off Hull KR and Chris Chester and Lee Poaching put a plan together, and they beat them, didn't they, at Headingley, and got to the final. Less said about the better after that, Hull KR fans. But Warrington by 20.
I think there's two outcomes here. One of them is Warrington winning by 50, and the other one is Hull KR, who held their nerve to beat Salford. I don't think we can underestimate what a big win that is. I think that they're a nervous club, Hull KR, because they've been here before and it didn't end well, and they're there again and they'll be going, no. This is a free week. This is a free hit. This is an absolute free hit. Warrington laboured past Wigan the other week.
Yes.
Some would say they could have lost to Wigan at home.
Yeah.
They laboured on the weekend. They needed a bit of magic and a little bit of luck as well with that length of the field try shortly after. Wigan aren't very good at the minute. Hull KR at home, they put, what did they score, 30 odd or 20 odd against St Helens the other week when they were beaten? We're getting a shock. I think Hull KR are going to win. I think Hull KR can win this game. They could lose by 50, and I really could see if Warrington get 20-0 up early on, I reckon that could well happen. But I think if Hull KR can stay in it early, Friday night, I think all the pressure's on Warrington. They're expected to win. They're expected to get to the cup final. They're expected to win the cup. I think Hull KR could be about to win.
Hull Derby in the semi-finals at Bolton. Stroke.
Or not Bolton.
Stroke Sheffield or whatever else it's going. Yeah. Right, I'm going for Hull KR by 2. Ryan Shaw, if he plays, is going to boot the winning goal. St Helens against Wakefield. This is on Saturday at 3:15.
Wakefield without David Fafita, we believe.
Possibly.
Unless he makes another miracle recovery.
It has been known.
Yeah, it has. But I think even he's saying a couple of weeks out at the moment. So.
Okay.
Wakefield against Catalan Magic looked like a team where injuries had just caught up with them. They've done absolutely brilliant managing them. They've made a couple of positional changes as well, which seemed to work for them. But unless Danny Brough is going to come back.
Well, you didn't see him on Saturday, did you? Because you weren't there, but he was walking around with his arm still in a pot.
So for me, he would be the only reason why you would back them to beat St Helens. I just think, again, the manner in which Saints played this week was an eye-opener for me, because I think you talk about the
stuff. They only got beat the week before by Salford, though.
And Huddersfield pushed them all away in the last round of the cup. But the difference is where Warrington have stumbled and lost at home to Salford and lost at home to Hull, Saints haven't. They've gone through. Nobody can go through a period of the season that is this long and play at the peak every week.
Yeah.
Saints have been through a period where they weren't playing at their best, but still won.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't bet against them at the moment. So
is this the wrong time for Wakefield?
Yeah.
We mentioned their injuries. They've been playing busted for a long time, and I think that
caught
up with them the last 2 weeks.
And I just don't know if the turnaround is sufficient for them to get the key players that they would need to win on the park. So I'm going Saints by 14.
It's a free hit, because we're expected to go there and lose. Probably will do, sadly. Still got pins stuck in the Jonathan Davis voodoo doll at home after drawing us out away from home at Saints, but never mind. Could have given us against Halifax. Jeez. St Helens by 8.
Okay. I worry about Wakefield. I thought they should have won on Saturday. I really did. I thought they were going to win, and they found a way to lose, and they'll be there or thereabouts in the playoffs, but I think this game has just come at the wrong time. And if St Helens, as you said, if they play like they did on Sunday night, I can't see Wakefield winning the game. They could do, but they're going to have to produce a Herculean performance, and at the moment I'm not sure they've got the fuel in the tank to do it. So I think St Helens, I'll go by 18. Right, the big one, Bradford against Halifax. Halifax, who beat Bradford at the Bash, 2 weeks ago? What's going to happen here?
Well, neither going into it in great form, but I do think that's because of the distraction of the cup. One of them is in the semi-final, and that is massive for both of them. I think there's plenty of time in the league to still make the top 5 and have an impact in the playoffs, but their initial focus at the moment is putting everything they can into this cup run, because one of them is going to a double header to play a Super League opponent, which if they can create an upset would see them at Wembley, which is just an astonishing thought and brilliant for the Championship. How can you get bet against the master of the Challenge Cup, Mr. Keir? Probably can't. I think home advantage is going to be the defining factor. If Bradford can harness again the spirit they did against Leeds and their almost faultless performance that day, it's a free hit for Halifax, I think. But I'm just going to go Bradford narrowly.
Live on the BBC. The first B standing for Bradford, because they'll all be there on the telly. There'll be no one from Halifax there at all on the panel because they don't know anyone from Halifax. It was the commentary was shockingly biased in that game against Leeds. And thinking about that when I'm saying that about Leeds, I think Bradford will win. I think they've got too much for Halifax. I know that's ridiculous to say because you look at the league table, they're level on points on 16. I think, as Phil says, this is bigger than the last 2 games Bradford played. Yeah, they might make the top 5 this year, they might not. They ain't going to go up though because Toronto are, or Toulouse. They're not quite at that level yet, Bradford, are they? I think losing Dayton Chisholm is obviously a big.
Well, he hardly played, though, had he?
Yeah.
He hardly played.
But, yeah, I'll go Bradford, and Bradford by 12.
Bradford should win. Bradford, I don't know what the head-to-head record is with Halifax. I know they lost the other week, but prior to that, I don't recall Halifax winning too many. I might be wrong there. That might just be my perception, but it's interesting they both got beat this week. You know that, and the manner of Bradford's defeat as well. You know, 32-4 they got beat in the second half. That's not great. I've got a feeling Halifax are going to win, and this is not my Bradford bio. I don't like blah 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 blah. It's not. It's just the TV cameras are there. It's almost like we couldn't watch Bradford. This is Bradford who beat Leeds. Look how good Bradford are. Well, they've lost 7 of their 15 games in the Championship, so they're not that good, are they? I know Halifax have done similar. Halifax they're a token, according to some people in this fixture. I don't think they are. I think they love being underdogs. You know, they enjoyed beating Bradford at the Bash. John Keir admitted he got his team selection wrong. Well, he can't have got it right this week because he got thumped. I think they'll be up for this, Halifax. I think Halifax will win it. I think they'll cause a massive shock. I say massive, I think, because everyone expects Bradford to win. I'm not so sure they will. I think Halifax will win it. So I'm going for a couple of shocks this weekend. We will see.
I think we've got the 1895 Cup round 2 as well to look forward to this weekend.
Yes, we have. We'll talk about that next week. That is it as far as we go this week. We've done our time. We're on overtime. Phil, thanks as ever.
Pleasure.
Richard, thanks as ever. Thanks to you for watching. Download the podcast as well, all the usual providers, and we will see you next week.